Alright, we're live. Okay. So, I know I started this stream kind of late, but there's a reason why I'm doing a live stream tonight. Hey, yeah. Hello, CC Games YT. Yep, I know, right? Finally, I started the stream. I can't believe it. This has been a pretty fast day. Fast evening, fast night for me. Yep. Yeah, 4 people watching. I'm surprised. So, last night I did a live stream talking about baseball, the World Baseball Classic, WBC, and MLB's new rule changes in 2023. So yeah, I talked about that. And I did say in that live stream that I was supposed to premiere the St. Patrick's Day parade video today, but that did not happen. And that's because the video was taking forever to process. I don't know why it takes so long to process a video. And the video it's not that long, you know? But whatever. I will still premiere it, hopefully tomorrow if it's done processing by then. So since I couldn't premiere the video today, I decided, all right, well, I guess I'll have to do something else, and that is a live stream tonight. And that's really the main reason why I decided to do a live stream tonight, because I did say I was going to premiere the video, but that didn't happen. Another reason why I decided to do a live stream of this game is because, yeah, this is my friend on Steam that's watching on YouTube. Yep, that's him, Chase Cat. So, there's no face cam because I wanted to play these podcast videos while playing American Truck Simulator. And the podcast is talking about MLB new rules and stuff. So for all the baseball fans out there, you're probably going to like this here. So yeah, I'm gonna pretend that it's my radio. So yeah. And when I play the podcast, I will mute my mic, because I don't want to talk while they're talking. So, but you guys can still ask questions in the chat, because I have the chat on my phone. I just gotta type my response. And yeah, don't do that while you're driving in real life. Texting, I never did that. Like, there's just no need to. Okay? If it's an emergency, it's better to call, not to text. Okay? Because when you call someone while driving, you don't have to put the phone in your hand. You can put the phone down and you can still kind of talk, you know? There's some idiotic people that do that crap. I don't get that. So, but hey, this is a video game, so I can kind of do that. Alright. So yeah, that's what this live stream is about. We're going to listen to these baseball talking videos while playing this game. And that's basically it. And hopefully tomorrow I can finally premiere the St. Patrick's Day Parade. That's like, I've gone way too long since I was supposed to premiere it. Like, tomorrow is 1 week after St. Patrick's Day. Isn't that crazy how 1 week just goes by so fast? You know? Oh, hello, William Molina. How you doing, man? I don't think I've ever seen you on here. Are you new to the channel? If you are, welcome. It's always cool to have new people join in. It's like you never know. It's just like with CC Games YT. You were new, right? About a month ago. Yeah, so I think that's all I gotta say. Let's see here. So I'm about to play here. This stream won't be too long. It might be like 2 hours at least. So that's what, 11:15. I'll end the stream around midnight, the latest. Yeah. All right. Yep. This is episode 49. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's other people watching right now. 49 episodes / live streams I've done on this game since October 30th, 2021. That was my first episode of this game, and here we are, almost a year and a half later. I wonder what should I do for episode 50? I feel like I should do a big live stream. I don't know. Maybe a marathon, because I've done the longest drive before. I don't know, maybe I can do that again. Maybe while delivering something, because when I did the longest drive, I wasn't delivering anything. I'm pretty sure I wasn't delivering anything when I did the longest drive. So maybe if I do that again, I can deliver something, and then that'll be a huge amount of money if we don't mess it up. Okay? Yeah. Hey, CC Games, you remember that live stream where it was a failed delivery after all? It was a long delivery, and I didn't get any money because I was super late. Yep, that was the worst delivery of all time. What episode was that from? That was from 47. Yep, 100 Years of Kenworth Trucks. Yep, that was the worst delivery ever. Well, at least now I learned my lesson. So if I'm super late, I'm just gonna cancel the delivery. There's just no need to finish it. Now I know. Because I've never been super late before delivering something until that happened. Oh yeah, William says, you're great. Definitely new since you've been watching for my Nintendo game. Oh, okay. Yeah, the last live stream I've done for Nintendo games was about a month ago for my 11th year anniversary. By the way, since baseball season is back, you know what's gonna come back? Mario Super Sluggers videos. Yep, that's Mario Baseball from 2008 when that game released on the Wii. Yeah, so I got more videos of that game, so that's finally gonna come back. Would be cool, like, maybe I can do my own Mario baseball tournament, kind of like the World Baseball Classic, but for Mario Super Slugger style. That would be pretty cool. And if I do that, you know I'm gonna record that. Hmm. Hey, Landon. Yes, I saw you. I saw you pinned my comment. Yep. You. Yeah, it wasn't very long after I sent you that comment. Yeah, so you got the notification. So that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know you can. Like tag someone's YouTube name in the description. And then I got the notification from you because you put my YouTube channel name in the description. So thank you for that. All right, I guess we're ready. Let's see here. All right, so I made a playlist of the podcast videos that we're going to be listening to. Let's hope it's not copyrighted. I mean, there's no music in it, but let's hope this won't be copyrighted. That's the thing, you're not going to know until I end the broadcast, or if I don't get an email the next day saying, "Hey, your video has gotten a copyright claim." Yeah. It's hard to avoid copyright stuff. Let's see here. There's really... Okay. Cool. Oh, looks like I gotta change my... I'm gonna have to change my paint job on my truck again. Because last time it was green. I did that for St. Patty's Day. So I'm gonna have to change that to something else. So we'll see about that. Alright. So, I made a playlist of the podcast videos that we're gonna be listening to. Here it is here. So yeah, we'll see how this sounds. I think it's gonna sound really good while playing the game. So yeah, I'm gonna pretend that this is my radio. Yep. Alright. I think we're ready. So again, I'm gonna mute my mic while we're listening to these, and if you ask questions in the chat, I will see it, because I have it on my phone, and I'm gonna have to type my response back to you. So yeah, I think that's all I gotta say. So again, I'm sorry I couldn't premiere the St. Patty's Parade again video because the video was still processing, which is ridiculous. You know, like the video is not super long. You know. Maybe it's the video file. I don't know. But hopefully I'll premiere that tomorrow. And whenever that video is ready to premiere, I'll schedule it so that you guys will have some time in advance to get the notification. And I think after that, that's basically it. Mario Super Sluggers videos will be coming back soon. A lot of the videos of that game are with my friend Brad, who's also played this game, Truck Simulator. You've probably seen some live streams of him playing it. So yeah, that guy. So, and a week ago, got some friends that came over and we did some more videos. So yeah, I got quite a lot of videos to be released this year. I just don't want to release them all at once, you know what I mean? You know, I just want to keep them separate from time to time, you know, little by little. So, yeah. Okay, I think that's it for my news. Now, let's get the truck in here. And I'm going to play this here. So yeah, these podcast videos are baseball related. They're going to talk about the new rules, what they think about it, if they like it or they don't like it. and then later on the World Baseball Classic, WBC. So, alright, if anything goes wrong with the stream, let me know, because I had some streams in the past where it just stops by itself, which is weird. So, alright, let's get to the game here. So enjoy this, another one of these streams here. Trying to think if I have anything else to say, but I think that's it. So yeah, this is episode 49. Episode 50, I don't know what I'm going to do for episode 50. I feel like I should do something special. Maybe do the longest delivery ever I can find. Maybe I can do that with my own truck. And then we'll get a lot of money. And then we can probably maybe try and go back to $1 million. And then we can buy our second truck. Maybe I might do that. I'll think about it. Alright. Let's begin. Yeah. Alright. Let's go. Alright, I'm about to play these videos right now.
Baseball has new bases.
Yes.
This is a player safety thing, right? They want it bigger.
This is a player safety. It's
'Cause
kind of like
they use
less collisions, less guys getting stepped on.
Alex Cora called the new bigger bases pizza boxes.
Well, they added 3 inches on either side. The old bases were 15 by 15.
This is 18 by 18?
And 18 by 8.
Okay.
Remember when Ellen was hosting the Oscars and then she had pizza brought in everyone and those boxes were huge? That's what that base looks like.
It's
like
enormous.
the biggest pizza box, it's like 32 slices in
It's
that
going to look
box.
weird. It's going to
Gonna
look weird.
They're hoping stolen bases now goes up because you're like 6 inches closer
Well, I guess,
between bases.
I'm for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Great. And then more infield hits, maybe?
Well, and look, as
Right.
we know, the anti-shift goes into play this year.
Oh, yeah. It's less space for both.
2 guys on either
Isn't
side.
for
that
both
something
guys
else
to
you're
be stationed.
responsible for?
Yes.
100%.
I mean, put this, man. You know what? Yeah, go ahead. Put you on some committee. I don't know what committee, but a committee.
I say I want the star. I want the shift gone. Shift's going to be gone. Can't wait. Although they don't listen to me about everything, I can't stand the Ghost Runner. By the way, which is, by the way, starting extra innings 10th. You know, whoever was up last, I guess, or somebody who's on the
Last out.
last out
I like-
goes out there. It stinks. It stinks.
it's
You know what I
games
feel
are-
for? You know
games
what I feel?
shorter.
You know what I feel for? I feel for the relievers. Like, so you give up a grounder to the
run-
right side and then a fly ball.
That run goes against you.
Yeah, that goes on your ERA.
Now your ERA, if you complete the inning, is 9.
Now you should have a ghost runner ERA if you're
That's
a.
true. I'm sure
if
some
you're a reliever.
analytical stat will be adjusted for.
I don't
anti-ghost
like
runner.
it. You know what they should do? Give me real baseball for the 10th and the 11th innings, and then 12th inning, give me the
That's
ghost
kind
runner.
of what I would be in favor of that for regular, but they don't do it for the playoffs, which is
Well, it's
obviously
kind of like
great.
I
don't know. Regular
well, you can't
season,
do it for the playoffs.
keep
Regular
the games
season,
moving. It's
I
kind of
know.
like hockey. Hockey does the 3-on-3 overtime for 5 minutes and then shootout. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
this is different. It's different. This is baseball. What are we talking about? What are you doing, Ghost Runner? I
Thing
can't
is,
stand
Rich,
it.
We're of a certain age for being a baseball fan.
Here's the deal. Give me 10th inning real baseball, 11th inning real baseball. Then 12th inning, give me Ghost Runner. It's fine.
Yeah.
So something won't go, 12, 13 innings likely. But I understand, and especially since everybody comes out throwing 100 miles an hour.
Not getting hits anyway.
Everybody throws 100 miles an hour now. But maybe something will drop because somebody's not standing there in short right field like it's some beer softball league,
Yeah.
because they've gotten the shift handled. I like it.
Let's see if certain lefties. Let's see if their averages go
and
up
then
this year.
we get the pitch clock too, don't we?
Yeah, pitch clock. Yeah.
We have asked the commissioner of Major League Baseball to appear on this program and account for these changes, and I do believe Rob Ranford is working on his schedule as we
Great.
speak.
He's been a friend of the show.
So we've got that. And then there's also the return of baseball means the return of some of the characters of the sport. And that includes one of our favorites here as well, the manager of the New York Metropolitans, Buck Showalter, who suddenly, for some reason, out of nowhere, as pitchers and catchers reported, opined on the beauty of Chipotle.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Okay, I have not heard the soundbite.
This is amazing.
This is Buck Showalter at his finest. He's back, everybody. Buck Showalter unplugged on food.
What's that place? I don't want to mispronounce it. Chipotle. Right? Because I think I said something that was wrong. I think half our team was in there last night. You can order on your phone. Do you know that? I got one of the clubbies to do it for me. You just drive by and go sleep by 9 o'clock.
You get internet on the plane?
Really? Not on my plane. That plane we were on never worked, did it? Yours probably worked.
Order it out on your phone.
He figured out you could order on his phone. Then he kind of sat back like he just discovered.
Like, he just discovered electricity.
Yeah, you just ordered that on your phone.
Were you guys aware of that?
Let me show you
Yes,
something.
Buck.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
For you,
Chipotle is delicious.
I think half our team was in there last
Fantastic.
night.
Fantastic. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single 3 Eastern for free.
Understand.
Al Michaels, the Hall of Famer, joining us on the program. Al, how you feeling?
Speaking of bad backs, not bad though, but I'm going to tee it up in about an hour and a half with Mr. Jim Nance, who is out here for the Genesis. Yes, sir.
So Nance is going to play golf?
Today, right? And I'm thinking about what you told me, Johnny Miller. But I'm on the range the other day, and somebody gave me 6 syllables, right? Not 4. So now I'm all screwed up.
No, keep it simple.
I'd like to, but I have like 837 swing thoughts. And
Yeah.
the only one that works is please God, don't let me whiff.
Yeah, but have you whiffed before?
No, but when I played in the AT&T back in 2008, I couldn't feel my body. 5,000 people were lining the fairway, and that's all I could think about. Please, God, please don't let me whiff.
And here you are, you've done all of these major events, Olympics and World Series and Super Bowl. But if I said the most nerve-wracking thing that you've ever been a part of, AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am is up there because they think you're good. And you don't want to take somebody out with a shot down the third base line.
Not only up there, it's on top of the pyramid, Dan.
Yeah.
There's nothing even close to the way I felt on the first tee at Pebble Beach. Not only are you thinking about killing somebody, but just embarrassing yourself or hitting like a
Dribbler.
4-yard dribbler. And then you have to take a fairway with. I'm thinking, just get me out of here. Please, God. So I hit like a 140-yard ground ball down the third base line and got the hell out of there. And the rest of the day was perfect.
All you want to do is make sure that your first tee shot is great and the last putt you make on 18. That's all you care about when you play in these Pro-Ams.
By the time I got to 18, nobody's there and nobody cares.
What you think of the Super Bowl?
Hell of a game. Great game. And again, it gets, I don't want to say determined on one play. Everybody's saying what you think of the call. I mean, we've seen that play 1,000 times. It's a 50-50 call. The one thing that I felt was I saw some columns and some other people talking about the fact, you can't let a game end that way. To me, I think justice should be blind. I think if it's pass interference on the first play of the game or the last play of the game, it's the same thing. So they called what they saw. I thought Bradbury was very classy, saying that he was hoping they would let it go, but they didn't. But it was a great game. It had a lot of hype. You had the 2 best teams during the regular season and to the postseason to that point. So and that's why we love football, games like that.
And players just want consistency. If you're going to call that in the first quarter, then they're going to call that in the fourth quarter. And I think Bradbury may have been under the impression they're going to let us play because they weren't calling holding throughout the game.
Maybe. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
But yeah, but it was a great game. Very entertaining, obviously.
We love having you on, but we also wanted to have you reminisce on Tim McCarver. He replaced Howard Cosell in 1985. And your thoughts talk about different personalities to exchange one another in the booth. What were you thinking when Tim McCarver came into the booth for Howard?
Number one, I loved him. Loved him. Hall of Fame human being, Dan. So when Tim retired from the field, from playing, I had done a few games with him. In those years, we were mixing and matching around the clock, and every week was somebody different. We had Don Drysdale, Earl Weaver had retired for a couple of years. I had Earl. I had Steve. I broke Steve Stone in, who's now had a 40-year career. And Tim and Jim Palmer were doing a lot of games, and Jim had then retired at that point, so he was full-time with us. So going into the 85 World Series, we were alternating postseason with NBC, so they had the playoffs. It was our World Series. And Howard, at that point, Cosell had become cantankerous, to use the word that he loved to use all the time, and bitter, and he would pretty much cast the pall over the entire crew because he didn't want to be there, and we didn't want him to be there. And then about a week before the season ended, he wrote his second book called I Never Played the Game. And in the book, he trashed everybody at ABC, including Roone Arledge, who had given him the job and had let him have free reign all of those years. So when that came out at ABC, they were talking about, what are you going to do now? You're going to put this guy on the air who's angry and bitter, blah, 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 blah. So I get a call from one of the ABC executives during the playoffs, which are on NBC at that point, and he tells me we're replacing Cosell with Tim McCarver. That was one of the greatest phone calls I've ever had in my life. And Tim and Jim and I wound up doing a dance in the 85 World Series, 87 World Series, the 89 World Series, which was the earthquake. And then we shared the 95 World Series with NBC with something called the Cockamamie Baseball Network. But Tim, it's so funny. I think of so many things with Tim. One of them, of course, would be in the Earthquake World Series in 1989. We come on the air at 5 o'clock. We're doing the scene set. The earth shakes at 5:04. But I had led to Tim. We're on camera. And then Tim is narrating and dissecting a play that had taken place 2 nights before in Game 2 in Oakland. And all of a sudden, I blurted out, we're having an earthquake. And Tim put a death grip on my leg. And Tim would always say that, I grabbed his leg. I said, Tim, I have the scars. I have been through earthquakes before. You haven't. But I had let me put it to you this way, Dan. 3-person booths are tough. You know that. It's very tough. And I've had a few of them in my career. This was one where I have to say that the 3 of us together, Palmer and McCarver and myself, we were, I think, better as a threesome than any combination of the 2 of us. So I loved it. I treasured the memories I had with Jim and with Tim because they were so into making the telecast as great as it could be. They were great men. And, you had Palmer, who knows everything about pitching, obviously, and Timmy, who knew everything about everything as a catcher, played for 4 different decades. So he saw everything. And the one thing that I was certainly convinced of during those years, Dan, if he had become a manager, he'd have been a great manager. And he had opportunities to do that, but he just preferred broadcasting.
Yeah, I wondered about that because, we marvel at Tony Romo, or at least we have, where he's predicting something that would happen. Tim would tell you what he thought was going to happen a long time ago. That he was so ahead of every other analyst, it felt like, that he was playing the game while broadcasting the game and saw it in a unique way.
Very much so. He was able to do that. He was also able to bring up certain things that you never had thought about. And I knew a lot about baseball at that point because I'd been with the Reds. As you know, you were listening to me when, you were in your bassinet and I'm doing the Cincinnati Reds. And, I've been with Sparky Anderson and Pete Rose and Johnny Bench. I had a PhD in baseball. And then I started working with Tim, and he would bring things up. I thought to myself, wow, nobody talks about these things. It's so true. And he made it so interesting. And he loved the game, and he loved teaching the game to people. I would say when I think back through my career, I had John Madden, who, of course, taught millions of people to love football more than they did and to understand football. I would put McCarver in that category with baseball. I think Timmy taught as much baseball to millions of people as John Madden did football to the millions of people who love John.
But then do you allow a little more room for Madden and McCarver? Your role as play-by-play voice, does it change in accordance to who your analyst is?
It does. And with both of those guys, and so I'm not saying that everybody's the same, but these guys were at the top of at least my pyramid. The great thing about McCarver, so the way I do play-by-play, and you've heard me for years, I incorporate a lot of the fundamental or rudimentary analysis inside my play-by-play. Now, I've worked with some people who don't want that because I'm saying what they wanted to say. And if you know what I mean, in other words, I'll tell, I don't have to give you just the basics, but I will tell. What I will do is give you a launching pad with McCarver, especially. And I said to Tim one day, I said, "Listen, am I taking up too much of your space?" He says, "No. You keep doing what you're doing because you're forcing me to go to a different area where I feel like I'm energized and I can bring up certain things that normally I would not bring up because I would do the rudimentary or fundamental analysis." So he loved it. And I loved working with him because, boy, you let him go and you don't know where he was going to go, but you would learn. You would learn and appreciate what he was talking about.
Yeah, I grew up with Tony Kubek when he was doing it. I thought Tony was spectacular. And
I did too.
I mean, and very underrated as an analyst. And then when Tim came in, it's almost like, oh my God, this is so unique. And then all of a sudden, like the audience gets tired, it feels like after a while. And they're like, oh, he's a know-it-all. And but in the beginning, it's like, oh, this is great. He knows it all and he's sharing it. And then it felt like going, oh, here's Tim going to say, I'll tell you. And I don't know, it just feels like maybe that's what's going on with Tony Romo. Like, yeah, that's okay. Now we want to hear something else.
I don't know. Look, it's difficult, and at least with Tim, he was only on once a week. To me, it's amazing that especially when he took like the Mets job and he was with the Yankees, he did the Giants for a while, he did a bunch of Cardinal games. If you're on every night, that's really tough to bring up new stuff every night.
Yeah.
But on national television once a week, Tim was able to do that. But believe me, I would sit there next to Tim and go, damn, I've seen a couple of thousand baseball games. I never thought about that. And, look, he was just a wonderful man. He was courteous, just the way he treated people. I mean, I loved the guy. He was fantastic. Just loved the man.
He's Al Michaels, the Hall of Fame broadcaster, getting ready to go tee it up with Jim Nantz. Handicap-wise, how many shots is Nantz giving you?
Well, we were partners yesterday, and we went down the tubes. We lost, I think, $40, whatever it was.
Okay.
So today, Jim and I, we're brethren. So, whatever our handicap, Jim's pretty good these days. You got to tell you. I played with Jim for a long time, but he's got that Johnny Miller.
Yeah.
My problem is, I went to those XGO clubs, which are very light and they're very good, but I can't hit the ball more than 150 yards. So, Danny, what am I going to do, kid? What do I do? I go to the Strixons, I go to the Pinnacles. What do you want me to do? Tell me something. Tell me anything. And I'm left-handed playing right-handed golf. I feel like you're my shrink right now.
and you play on a great golf course. Bel Air is a wonderful golf.
No question.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And
you coming out soon? When are you coming out?
I don't know when I'm coming out. But I did tell people Riviera is so pretty, but it's pretty hard too. Like certain courses you go, God, that looks so much fun. And then you get out there and you're like, damn, this is a difficult course.
I played in the Pro-Am the other day. I teed off at 750. It was 42 degrees and the wind was 40 miles an hour in the Pro-Am. I went home and I slept for 3 hours from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It was a lot of fun, though. Played with JT Poston, young pro. He's won a couple of tournaments. Good guy, really good guy.
Well, good luck today.
Well, thank you, Dan.
Yeah, good luck today. Tell
I'll report. You won't be there Monday, but I'll report in anyway.
Tell hello, Jim. That hello, friends. That we said
hello, friends.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you, Al.
Take care, Danny. Be good, man.
That's Al Michaels reminiscing about Tim McCarver, who passed away yesterday at the age of 81.
Joining us now is the man who came up with that remarkable line that still resonates and causes people to have goosebumps and crying like I am today. My good friend Al Michaels back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Al?
You know, it's great to celebrate the anniversary with you, Rich, every year. I think we started it at 40. So let's just keep it going another 7, but book me for February the 22nd, 2030, and we can really exult and look back at something that, it's people have texted me today and said, it just doesn't get old. So I write back, I said, yeah, the only thing that gets old is me. But I mean, it's hard to believe that was 43 years ago. But, I listened to that, and I feel I'm in the third person. And, of course, I've heard it thousands of times. But it's like, I kind of feel the way a lot of people do when they hear that. But it's like somebody else is doing it. Mm-hmm. So what a moment. Obviously, Sports Illustrated, in 2000, ranked it as the greatest sports moment of the 20th century. So a number of years after that, we were still, I think it's still, for me, obviously, number one. As you know, it's on the top of the shelf. And people say to me, well, what's the crowning moment of your career and everything? And I go, nothing will ever top that. It's a confluence of events.
No doubt. And, obviously, we all know what else you've called. And one of the many things I love about you, Al, is you just remember so much and so many details as if it was yesterday. So we're talking at 1:23 Eastern time. We're talking at 1:23 Lake Placid time. What were you doing 43 years ago at this very moment, if you can guesstimate?
Like 1:30, close to 1:30 in the afternoon. So the game started at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So people forget that it was, tape delayed. We came on the air. It was at 5 o'clock. We were taping the game, and then they aired it at 8 Eastern time. Of course, the world was so different then, and people could keep from finding out what had taken place. But I think at about this time, 43 years ago, Rich, I walked over to the arena because we were at a hotel at the Hilton, which was maybe 4 or 5 blocks away in Lake Placid, with Ken Dryden, the great Hall of Fame goalie who was my partner on that telecast. And I remember one of the things we talked about, or at least I said to Ken, was hopefully it's only like 3-1 in the middle of the second period, Soviets. And we could keep an audience, because my big fear, of course, was that it was going to be something like 6-0, and then nobody would care about it. But I do remember having that conversation with Ken on the way over to the arena. So, at the end of the first period, Mark Johnson had scored that goal right at the horn to tie it 2-2. At the end of the second period, it's 3-2. Jim Craig, of course, made save after save in the second period to keep the game close. And we know the rest. Mark Johnson scores the tying goal, and Mike Ruzioni scores what turned out to be the game-winning goal exactly 10 minutes into the third period. But that was the conversation that Kenny and I had on the way over.
And again, Alan, as you point out, different times, tape-delayed broadcast, kids, college kids going up against the Soviets, just another word that dates it. But what about that barn, right? I mean, you don't get games of this magnitude played in a barn like the one in Lake Placid. What was it like in that building when you walked in there?
Well, you don't get the Olympics in places like Lake Placid anymore. So Lake Placid had hosted the Olympics in 1932, and they won the rights to host it in 1980. I don't think you'll ever see an Olympics in a venue like that. I mean, it's a little hamlet, and you could barely, get in or out. I mean, the access on roads was not like it is today for any venue that would host an Olympic Games. But right across the street was the high school in Lake Placid, and the track was turned into a rink, and that's where Eric Heiden, they turned it into a skating rink, speed skating, and Eric won 5 gold medals across the street. So then this was nothing but a field house, and I guess they really cleaned it up. And I know a lot of games are played there, youth hockey and minor league hockey and the rest. But they've cleaned it up. But then it was simply like a 7,000 or 8,000 seat arena, which had lower bowl seating and a small balcony, and our broadcast booth was on a kind of a ramshackle platform in the front of that balcony, shaking like crazy at the end of that game. But you'll never see anything like that again right now, because obviously to get to host the Olympic Games, you're going to have to spend billions and billions of dollars to either upgrade your facilities or build new ones. But that was the last of its breed. The other thing I'm thinking about today, Rich, is that here we were, part of what made that what it was the Cold War was so icy at that point. The United States and the Soviet Union, and here we are 43 years later. Think about this. Still at loggerheads with Russia, at least with Putin anyway. Crazy.
And then, obviously, Al Michaels here on the Rich Eisen Show. That's also obvious by the date, the 43rd anniversary of Miracle on Ice and the distinctive voice. Let's talk about Herb Brooks a little bit here. What was he like, Al? What was he like, Herb?
I thought he was a great man and a great coach. And what he was able to bring that team to that moment in time and have them play at their very best. And I thought, the movie, a lot of people know the story from the movie Miracle,
right,
where Kurt Russell played Herb Brooks. I think he did a magnificent job. I mean, I looked at Kurt in that movie, and I thought, wow, that was Herb. Herb was a hockey coach. He was a very smart man. He was a well-rounded man, but he was a coach. And don't forget, after the Olympics, right after the Olympics, when Herb Brooks could have been king of the world at that point, and been feted in every city and in the country, and ticker tape parades and the rest. What was he doing 2 weeks later? He went to coach a club hockey team in Switzerland. This is what he did. And in 2000, when the 20th anniversary, and Sports Illustrated ranked it as the top moment of the 20th century in sports, and we were all at Madison Square Garden. They had a big television show in the Garden. 14,000 people brought the team back. The place went crazy. And after they announced it was the number one event of the 20th century, I'm walking off the stage with Herb, and he said, "How could they rank that number one?" I said, "Herb, will you ever understand? What are you talking about?" So to him, all of the things that surrounded this game were on the side. He was a hockey coach. And look, he brought that team to that moment in time. And don't forget, because, the Soviet game, a lot of people still forget, that was the next to last game. They still had to beat Finland 2 days later, and the game that started at 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. And they trailed 2-1 at the end of the second period. And if they lost that game, they would not have won the gold medal, and possibly not even a medal. And here you've got 20 minutes to go. And the only thing Herb said to the team in the locker room afterwards was, as they're ready to go back on the ice, "If you lose this game, you will take it to your grave." And of course, there was an adjective before grave. And they, and have truer words ever been spoken? Because had they lost that game, Rich, think about this. For the rest of their lives, all of these guys, they would have gone around and people would say, let me get this straight. You beat the Soviets and lost to Finland? So he had the right words at the right time. And, he loved Ken Dryden, too. So he was not very accessible to the rest of the media. But because of his relationship with Ken, we got to have a beer with him every other night during the off nights. And we learned a lot, obviously, but I had tremendous respect for them.
I mean, that must have been amazing to have a beer with Herb Brooks. And, you talk about that movie. It is a terrific sports movie. And the line in the movie that I'm wondering if it also resonates with you, the actor Noah Emmerich, who's playing Craig Patrick, hands him, back the list of players that Herb had submitted to USA Hockey for the team. And he said, "You're missing the best players." And he said, "I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right ones." And,
correct.
And your statement earlier about, hey, you remember walking over to the arena with Ken Dryden and say it could be 6-0. Now you're so worried that, the Soviets blew out Team USA in Madison Square Garden in a friendly, if you will, prior to the Olympics. And so I'm wondering, what do you remember people wondering if they did have the right team at the time still going into that game?
Going into that game, at least they had tied Sweden with a goal in the last minute by Bill Baker in the opener. Wow. And then they had somehow beaten Czechoslovakia. They were the second best team in the league and killed them 7-3. So all of a sudden people are looking at this thing and go, whoa, what about this team? But you're right in terms of the Soviets had beaten the U.S. at Madison Square Garden in that, as you called it, friendly, by a score of, I think, 10-3, 3 nights before the Olympics. But that game could have been 15-0. But Dryden and I we'd been in Moscow to do some scouting before the Olympics, and I watched this team play, and they killed everybody. I mean, they were toying with people. They would win the game, 6-0. They could have won the game 20-0. So they were by far the best team in the world at that point. And Herb Brooks was able to, get them to the right place at the right time. But going into that game, if you looked at that game too, Rich, in so many ways, the Soviets outshot the United States 39-16. That's a 2.5-to-1 ratio. How many teams win games being outshot 39-16? That almost never happened.
Well, Jim Craig stood on his head that night, Al. I mean, he stood on his head, and then seeing his dad,
fantastic.
And then I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I mean, the flag around Jim Craig. Come on, man. That was
I know. And that if you look at the cover of Sports Illustrated the following week, and just the way those guys were celebrating, and they're falling all over each other, and there's Jack O'Callahan with that great toothless grin, and they're just falling all over each other. And just to fast forward, in Sochi at the Olympics in 2014, I wanted to interview Tretiak, who was the goalie the best goalie in the world, and they pulled him after the first period in a terrible move. But I got him into the studio, and the one question I always wanted to ask was, you guys are standing at the blue line, and there's a cutaway shot. Our guys are exulting, they're going crazy. The crowd is going crazy. They're all over they're falling all over each other. And the Soviets are just kind of standing pensively at the blue line with a lot of their chins on the knobs of their sticks, just watching this. And I said to Tretiak at Sochi, I said, what were you guys thinking at that moment? And he said, we wished we were them. They were so happy. It was unbelievable because the Soviets, they were never in that position. They would win every game. And all of a sudden they're watching this and they're going, we wished we were them.
Wished any of their
American hockey.
Right, wished any of their wins would matter as much as this one did for USA. Wow.
Right.
Wow. And then, so last one for you, Al. When did you first hear your call of "Do you believe in miracles?" Yes, became the root of the phrase that refers to the game forevermore as "Miracle on Ice"? When did you first hear, hey, they're calling it the Miracle on Ice, and you were the one who first put the word miracle into our consciousness? Al.
Well, I've told the story before, but because this game was on tape delay, and in those years you're worried about a tape machine breaking.
Oh, God.
As crazy as that seems, that Rune Arledge, who ran ABC Sports, made Dryden and me stay at the arena to announce the Sweden-Finland game, which started at 8 o'clock. So we're doing this into a tape machine, just in case there's a technical problem, playing the tape back of the U.S.-Soviet game. I mean, it sounds crazy right now. So I had no idea what was going on until I got back to the hotel and people started saying to me, wow, that was a great thing you said at the end of the game. Rich, I had to think about it because I was too busy doing the Sweden-Finland game, doing a second game, and I really didn't have time to digest what took place. So, fortunately, through the years, it kind of plays because, I don't know, if I screwed that baby up, you got to live with that forever. But that was, again, one of those things, and we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. People, said, did you think about it? Did I think about it? I thought we were going to lose the game 10-3. And that was straight out of my heart and my fiber. And as I said to somebody one time, I said, that's the 9-year-old in me coming out. That's the same thing that a fan would say at that point. So here we are 43 years later, still talking about this thing.
I love you, Al Michaels. Thanks for taking the time, man. You're the
Anytime,
you're the best.
Rich. You know that, man.
You're the
Take
best.
care, man.
Take care. We'll see you.
Be good.
That's Al Michaels, everybody, right here. Miracle on Ice 43rd anniversary.
Wow.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free. Pitch Clock made its debut in Major League Baseball over the weekend for spring training. Players have to get in the batter's box and look up and be focused on the pitcher 8 seconds into a 15-second clock. If they don't, there's a strike called. Pitchers have to be ready. Catchers have to be in the box as well. I mean, you got to move it along. Everybody kind of digs it, it seems. Aaron Judge says he likes it. Alex Cora said he likes it. Max Scherzer says it gives the pitcher more power. Because if the hitter calls a timeout, which they're allowed to do it either once or twice, we're going to get our friend Jeff Passett of ESPN joining us in top of the next hour, that then they got to get back in, and the pitcher can just basically hold it, and the guy cannot step out. He's got to focus for like 10 seconds or 12 seconds. Scherzer says he loves it. He's going to start toying with hitters in that respect.
But more power? They have all the power. They have the ball.
They do. The defense has the ball. But,
nothing starts till they throw it.
But players can keep stepping out on them and messing with their rhythm. Now they can't. However, if there's a runner on base, a pitcher can only step off the rubber or throw over twice. After that, the runner knows the pitcher's got to go to home plate. Here's the problem with the pitch clock.
I don't know.
In my estimation, is yesterday's Red Sox-Braves game tied. Runners on, 9th inning, 2 strikes. Hitter gets called out because he wasn't set at 8 seconds. A walk-off pitch clock violation. Now, I'm all for pace of play. I am. I do like baseball where I'm just sitting around and watching and chit-chatting and telling stories and what have you. Mm-hmm. But I'm over the 3 most likely outcomes, as they refer to it, or something like that, of an at-bat. Ball 4, strike 3, home run. Because the shift also takes away hits and things like that. Shift is gone now, too. I actually saw in spring training a left-handed hitter lace one to right field for a hit. And I'm like, where's the third baseman catching the ball?
For a hit?
Shouldn't there be a shortstop right there? Snag it right out of the air?
40 feet onto the grass?
No. Not anymore. Not anymore. And the bases are bigger, so more guys are going to reach. Because the bang-bang plays that used to be an out are now going to be a hit. People are going to be safe at second more often, maybe safe at third more often. Because the bang-bang plays where they're out, they're now going to be safe. You're going to see more action. And I dig it. Not a soul that agrees with me wanting to see more action wants a game to end on a pitch clock violation. I am sorry. And I am, as you know, a wannabe member of the NFL Competition Committee, so I know about rule changes. Boy, do I know. And I know every year there's a rule change or a change of emphasis on a rule that's already in the books. The NFL wants it. They want it called in the preseason. They not only want it called, they want it overcalled. They want to get it hammered into the mind's eye and the hearts and mind's eyes and heads of the players before the actual games count, because they want it out there now so it doesn't happen in the regular season. Happens all the time, and that may be what's happening now in baseball. Okay? But all it takes is one game in Major League Baseball for there to be a walk-off pitch count violation. And everyone will be losing their minds. Let it be a Red Sox-Yankees game at Yankee Stadium on Sunday night.
ESPN.
Oh, God. Okay. Runners on second and third. Red Sox down 1, 2 outs. A single puts them ahead. Yankees have down 1. Runners in scoring position. 2 outs. Base hit wins the game.
Putting a little extra pine tar on the bat.
But
Violation.
Giancarlo Stanton didn't have his head up. Game over. People will lose their minds. And I don't want to see a game end that way. And I don't want to hear, well, you should look up. You should know the rules. The rules are the rules. Screw those rules. Screw them. Of course, I always give a suggestion. Here's my suggestion. Keep the pace of play up. Innings 1 through 8. Fine. All good. Fine. 9th inning, pitch clock off. Go for it. Pitch clock off. And you don't have to worry about extras because you got your stupid ass ghost runner. So, and by the way, that's the way it should be called.
S-A-G-R.
Sagger.
Sagger.
You got your Sagger. You hear Saber is a metric, right? Sagger. You got your stupid ass ghost runner. It'll move. Don't worry, your game will be over soon. 9th inning, pitch clock off. I want 0 pitch clock violations. Or I guess it's off in extra innings too. I don't want it on the 10th or 11th inning. Nobody wants that. Pace of play all the way to the 9th, and then so be it. Jeff Passan coming up. All it takes is one. That's what I always said about this fumble through the end zone. You say it's a rule, you should follow it. Don't reach for the pylon so the ball doesn't go in the end zone and you don't lose the ball. Wait till it happens in a Super Bowl. That's all. Wait till it happens. Oh, it hardly ever happens. So why should we change it? Because it's going to happen at the worst possible time. Same thing with this pitch clock violation. Nobody wants to see it. And right now it's really confusing because, you know, the director's zooming in on the dramatic shot of the pitcher staring in for the sign, and then all of a sudden they take the wide shot and the umpire's going like this, and he's pointing. Yesterday the guy that got called out on the Braves thought he was advancing on a balk, and then the umpire goes, no, you're out. It's going to be confusing. It's going to be confusing, and I know they're probably overcalling it now so it doesn't happen in the regular season.
You're right.
1 through 8, innings 1 through 8, have at it. Move it along. So there's, it's the 8 innings takes 2 hours, hour 50, 2 hours and 10. After that, pitch clock off. We will not, in Major League Baseball, have a walk-off pitch clock violation. In my world.
I like that.
Brilliant! Thank you. Because the last thing you want is somebody to just be screwing around in the batter's box for 8.5 seconds, and the game is suddenly kaput. Can't have it. Won't have it. Einstein knows. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.
Is Dave Roberts with us?
He is.
Okay. Dave, can you hear me?
I can. How you doing, Dan?
I'm good. Let me give the full intro here. The LA Dodgers manager, Dave Roberts. Oh, he took off the hat, looking good there.
Yeah, you know what? The hair's trying to come through a little bit. Yeah.
Have you had it long before?
I have. Back in high school, I was known by many as sort of El DeBarge. So the long hair, the fuzzy mustache, and then the hair coming out of the back of the helmet. Joe Montana was my favorite player. So as a former quarterback, I wanted the hair. So it was just a bad look.
I always wanted Fred Biletnikoff hair, the Raiders wide receiver, because I don't think he had much on top, but it came out of the back of his helmet. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I sort of went Joe Montana. It just it looked cool, the curls coming out of the back of the helmet.
Have you met Montana?
I have not. I had a chance to meet Jerry Rice and Steve Young I think it was last year up in San Francisco, but I've never had a chance to meet the great Joe Montana.
Help me understand how you get your team together to get them acclimated with the new rules and pitching, hitting, shifts, all of the size of the bases. Do you have a seminar, a PowerPoint with your team?
I think what we've done is we have a morning meeting every day in spring training, and pretty much every day, every other day, we have Bob Guerin kind of talks about the rules, and we get feedback, we get dialogue with our players, and I really like that. As football players, they get in like that classroom setting. And so I think that so we have video, some PowerPoint, and just kind of really trying to belabor the rules, the points, and how we can adjust because it is an adjustment. You know, the pitch clock for hitters, they seem a little sped up. Understanding how pitchers can use it to their advantage, the bases, the non-shifting, and all that stuff, the little intricacies of the rules that I think the more we talk about it and players talk about it, it only kind of cements more and lands better.
But it feels like the pitchers might have a little bit more of an advantage because they can control the at-bat far more than the hitter can. Used to be the hitter could step out, adjust, all of that, pitcher's waiting. Now it feels like the pitcher has a little bit more control. Do you agree?
The pitcher does, and the pitcher does have more control. It's going to be a tougher adjustment for the hitter. And I think Max Scherzer a couple days ago, guys were talking about how he has the baseball ready to go. And then once you get ready to go, and then whether you have a full windup to stretch, you can hold the ball. And so as a pitcher, that's an advantage. Hitters hate pitchers holding the baseball, messing up their timing. And pitchers like hitters like rhythm. And so most guys don't practice the holding of the baseball to then deliver a pitch. So those are things that if you can kind of tighten stuff like that up and get familiar with it, it could really be advantageous to the pitcher.
What can you take advantage of as a manager this year with these new rules?
I think, honestly, I can take advantage of more time with my family, more time to drink wine because shorter games. But with respect to the game of baseball, I think it's just more of the low-hanging fruit is just educating our players because I think that the more you get familiar and talk about it, it becomes commonplace. So I don't think there's one thing that we can sort of game. You just got to be really, you got to just prepare your players much. So I don't think there's anything, that we can sort of game.
It was a little over a year ago when we had you on. It was March 24th, and you made your prediction. Here's how it sounded with the Dodger manager, Dave Roberts. The Dodgers will win the World Series if
we play a full season and there is a postseason.
Wait.
We are winning the World Series in 2022.
So,
but I know where you're going with that.
No,
we're winning the World Series this year. Put it on.
Okay. Put it on record.
And you know what? And that's fair. But what you did do is you did cut out my caveat of having if our starting pitching stays healthy. So I understand what you just did there. So
I can play. I'm on the pitch clock right now. I wanted to. So
hey, it's media. I get it, Dan. I'm not going to say we're going to win the World Series in 2023. I still believe that. I really do. And I don't think there's a manager that has a really competitive team that doesn't feel that way. Our guys feel that way.
Yeah,
so
but I didn't have a problem. I would hope that
I
you
didn't
would.
Either.
Everybody else did. Oh yeah, you guaranteed a World Series, and I mean, like, if I'm managing the Dodgers, yeah, we're going to win the World Series, and we should have that mindset starting now. And I don't have a problem if you said I don't think we're going to win the World Series. That's news saying that that we're going to win. Yes, I want that from my manager.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the people that know and that have understand the sentiment behind that. So we had a heck of a year, but we didn't finish.
Did you get in trouble? Did you get yelled at for that guarantee by anybody?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I'd like to think my days of getting yelled at are over. So no, I did not.
You'll win the World Series this year if
we play good baseball throughout October. How about that?
That's not as scalding of a hot take as I would like, but okay. Just trying to.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
Why don't you think about me, Dave? Why don't you think about me on this show that we could get some publicity?
Yeah, you've done very well for yourself, my friend, and so I did my part last spring. I'm gonna leave it up to another major league manager. How about that?
Do you yell at players?
No, I don't. I think I've just learned, I guess, as a former player that a lot of times when a manager, a head coach is yelling at a player, I think a little bit they get more satisfaction and than trying to get the message to land with the player. And so I think for me, I've always tried to make it about the player. So we have some tough conversations, but I do it kind of behind the scenes. I just never I never wanted to be embarrassed, and I don't think that anyone ever wants to be embarrassed.
I'm always amazed when I watch a basketball coach who is preaching discipline, but then gets mad and gets animated and starts yelling. I'm thinking, I know with my kids, if I would yell at them or if I would talk to them in a certain voice, the certain voice got through to them. When you start to yell, it's like they tune you out, or you give them a look, and it's like, no, that's not good. Let's talk about this. They're like, oh boy, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, with obviously with basketball and football and baseball, the culture is different. And we're playing 162 games, and it's a different pace. Granted, this year, the pace of play is going to be a lot quicker, but I'm with you, Dan. It's like the yelling, you start to become it starts to land on deaf ears. And so I think for me, a look and how we go about things, that's something I'm more critical of. And, you got to find a way to make players want to play the right way and put forth the right amount of effort.
It's great to talk to you. And, we were at Giants Stadium in Scottsdale for the Super Bowl. And just letting you know, it was the convenience of it. We had a nice setup there, and they gave us the entire stadium. So I did feel like I was cheating on you a little bit. But I will say that, they had T-shirts already made up that had to do with hating the Dodgers.
Well, I appreciate the honesty. I'm still trying to get past that SC banner behind you. So I'm just trying to I'm still trying to come to grips with that. So I appreciate it.
Wait, I put 2 kids through school. I deserve something from USC, and I didn't get any discount. It was like full boat. I had to pay for these 2.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm gonna brag about my daughter who's at Stanford, and I got a son at Loyola Marymount. So I'm almost out of the woods with one, and so I'm gonna be enjoying life once my daughter gets out of school.
Yeah, what's Stanford set you back?
I'm gonna say I think my wife does all the billing. I think it's $70K. I think that's the low number, probably, right?
You better win the World Series, Dave.
Don't try to circle back on that.
Guaranteed, sort of. They're going to win the World Series. Great to talk to you. Thanks for joining.
All right, Dan. Take care, man.
That's Dave Roberts, Dodgers manager. Take a break. Back after this. Rich Eisen, NFL Network host of the Rich Eisen Show, and Rich gets to experience all of this. You are Mr. Combine. How are you doing?
Congruence of interest sounds like that band that your friend is trying to invite you to come to the bar. I'm playing, hey, I got my cover band, Congruence of Interest. Can you, Thursday night, 9 o'clock, you want to come see it? That's what it sounds like.
I think that's Jared Leto's band.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. It's a cover band. I don't know what they cover. But it's just because, again, this is the first time we're seeing coaches and general managers since their exit interviews once their seasons ended, whenever they ended. And so we're wanting an update on things in the NFL media because we want things updated immediately. And things can't be updated. It's just like, of course, they want Tua back, sure. Does Tua want to come back? Yeah. Can his head handle it? Who the hell knows? Nobody knows. So, and then the same thing with Rodgers, Dan. We're all waiting for Rodgers. When is Rodgers going to give us a decision? And, Rodgers is being accused of, in many different parts, of being, a diva or dramatic. And, none of this, as you recall, compares at all to the level of drama that Brett Favre put the Packers through while he was deciding on his future. I mean, there's technically still time before the new league year begins, 2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact. I mean, if he was anywhere in the realm of Favre drama, he would say in 2 weeks after the new league year began, I'm out. And then 2 months later or 3 months later say, I want back in. That's Favre. So we want things now and we want an answer, you know?
If I said that you could get answers to any situation, whether it was team or it was player, the one scenario that you, if you got that opportunity, would be what or who?
Lamar Jackson. What in the world happened last year? Again, I called Ravens and Browns Week 15 on NFL Network. That was a Saturday game. You might have missed, Dan, because the Colts had the largest blown lead before it. And there was a snow game between Tua and the Dolphins and the Bills after it. You might have missed that one. But, you know, the Ravens absolutely, in starting Tyler Huntley in Week 15, expected Lamar back before the end of the season, if not the following week. And he never came back. And you're hearing he wants more. He wanted more and may want more guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson. And that's the story. I want to know what went behind the scenes. Why didn't he come back? Is there something going on between him and the team, contract related then, as to why he didn't want to come back? Because he didn't have a guaranteed contract. And then of course it does play into what's going on with Burrow and the Bengals and Herbert and the Chargers and Geno Smith and the Seahawks and all of these quarterback contracts that are coming up. Who's going to want every dollar guaranteed? Who is going to make a stand? And Lamar plays into all of it.
Yeah, I've had a curiosity about this for almost 2 years, Rich. And you know, with no agent, and now there was information leaked to Stephen A. Smith where he doesn't want a guaranteed contract, which I was told it was completely opposite. Why wouldn't you want a guaranteed contract, considering the way he plays, and he's proven more than Deshaun Watson is? Why wouldn't you say, I want what he got, or let's start right there? If you don't want a guaranteed contract, then sign the contract. It feels like something there. It's square peg, round hole here.
Yeah, my spidey sense has been going off about it again. The Ravens, in my estimation, based on what I was hearing and what I was, going to say, and what I did say with Kurt Warner on that Saturday broadcast with Browns Ravens, is he's expected back, and then he never returned, and they started Tyler Huntley in a playoff game. Dan, like, what is up with that? Yeah. And so there's just something that doesn't square, and I'd love to know all about it.
We're talking to Rich Eisen, NFL Network host. They will have coverage of the Combine starting later today, tomorrow, now through March 5th. We had Tom Pelissero on, and I said, how important is Bryce Young's height? And he said, not as important as really how much he weighs. Like durability more so, not his height. When did we find out how tall and how much Bryce?
I think the weigh-ins, Dan. I think the weigh-ins. They should have these guys weigh in like a fight, where they together and they stare at each other. They used to do it in public in underwear until Roger Goodell saw it for the first time truly and said, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to do these weigh-ins behind the scenes. But long story short is it's in the next day or two. I have that information somewhere.
Yeah.
But look, there's tonight and tomorrow are the nights where it's really the most. Well, I know I heard your fans think it's not that important. The Combine was created to get the kids measured and absolutely looked at by doctors. That's what this thing is for.
Yeah.
And now a lot of it is about meeting the prospects in an interview room. And everyone's going to get blown away by Bryce Young's football intelligence. You hear FBI as a phrase, football intelligence. They'll be blown away by his tape, and then there'll be somebody in the room who might be old school, just not tall enough. We're not going to go with a guy that short, and we're just not strong enough, not big enough. And then there will always be somebody in the back of the room. The strength coach raises their hand and say, I got that, don't worry about that. So I don't have an answer for who's going to be scared off and who's not. Daniel Jeremiah, who I'm doing the broadcast with, I had him on my show yesterday. He believes that Young is just not a fit for the Bears or the cold weather, and so folks will know that. And I think the Bears will eventually make this first overall pick available to whoever does fall for Bryce Young. It might be our hosts, Indianapolis. But in the meantime, they keep talking about their due diligence that they'll have to go through, because they do need to make it seem like they're going to choose this draft choice for their own and choose it on a quarterback. And Justin Fields is going to be strong enough to handle that speculation.
One of the topics that I know has already come up at the Combine, I'm curious what you think about this quarterback sneak rule that the Eagles took advantage of and were really, really proficient at it.
Yes.
What would be the reason why the NFL would eliminate that?
Because they just don't want to play looking like a rugby scrum. They want plays where you can see who's lined up, and fans, it's easy to see, and it's just not like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to turn the game into rugby, and it's just going to be a ring of people just shoving each other around. Like that's not what the league wants. But I do know that some folks believe it opens up possibilities that you can run other plays out of that formation, and that there could be Statue of Liberty plays, behind the back handoffs, so you don't know who has it, jump passes and the like. So to me, the competition committee, when they meet, they need to do three things. They need to make roughing the passer calls that have been thrown, flags that have been thrown for roughing the passer. They need to send that thing to the sky judge, which they don't refer to it as that. They call it replay assist or video assist, that is used to sometimes spot the ball or know that somebody's knee was down, so forward progress stops. There's enough time to let the refs huddle, let somebody take a look at it upstairs and review it and tell the guys or ladies, pick it up or it's good. And then make the call. That's number one. Number two is we got to get rid of fumbling the ball through the end zone, giving the ball back to the defense. I hate that rule with a passion.
Yep.
A team gives up 90 yards on defense, but they get the ball back because somebody fumbles the ball 1 inch beyond the pylon as opposed to 1 inch in front of the pylon, which would cause them to keep it. And the third thing they need to do is give me a damn seat on the competition committee already, so I can get in the room and pound the table, Dan. Wow. Yes.
Okay.
I am somebody that should be in that room. There is an I in Rich and Eisen, so I'm using this platform for myself.
Well,
Correct.
I helped John Facenda get into the Hall of Fame. Now, I needed a new task.
Good influence?
I woke up today, and I said to my wife, I need a new task. I need a new mission, a crusade. And now I have it.
Get me in the room.
Get Rich Eisen on the competition committee.
Yeah, they should. Somebody should represent the fan. You always hear that, let's change the catch rule. If it's 50 people in a bar, they can tell it's a catch, then let's change the catch rule. 50 people in a bar, they can change the tuck rule, let's change the tuck rule. Let me represent the 50 people in a bar. It may be a wine bar, but bar nonetheless.
Bar none.
Bar nonetheless.
I would love if we went to the 50 people in a bar to decide some of these calls in the NFL.
Yes.
Was that a catch?
Yes.
Yes.
Let the refs huddle up. Let's go to some bar in Iowa and let's get it done. Correct. Right in the heartland.
Have fun there.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you as always. That's the popular Rich Eisen, NFL Network host and a host of the Rich Eisen Show. He's John Smoltz. He's a Hall of Famer, and he was MLB on Fox, the World Series analyst as well. The new rules around John, and I want to know, John Smoltz, the pitcher, in his prime, with the new rules, how would you take advantage of the pitch clock or the batter clock?
Well, that would have been right up my alley because, the biggest thing, I get to go when I want to go. And I was a fast worker. That was really something that was always taught to our staff, Lavin, Maddox, myself, whoever's in the staff. That was Leo's biggest preach is, let's go, get the ball. And we were trained for that. And so, information and everything that's kind of slowed the game down is now trained to process more information. So I absolutely love this rule. I love every rule that's come into play for the obvious reasons that people are going to complain and they're going to, baseball's been slow to change for of the major sports, and that's okay, but it's time. And the players will learn it, they'll be fine. It's actually going to be worse for the hitters than it is for the pitchers. I know it's called a pitcher's clock, but it might as well be called a hitter's clock.
But so far, runs are up, batting average is up, but you're saying it's going to be tougher for hitters?
I think it's going to be tougher for hitters to process the information faster. Pitchers are going to have their game plan already established, and they're just going to kind of, they're full tilt. Nobody's really massaging the strike zone. They're trying to pound the strike zone. So hitters are trying to get all that information. That's why they step out. They're trying to see what they have absorbed during the day, in my opinion. There have been some notorious slow pitchers, but that is a minority. And I think that the game in and of itself, with all these rules, I'm excited about every one of them. I'm telling you, there's going to be unintended consequences that are going to affect the game in a positive way. Everybody will get over it. And I know the narrative. Look, I get it. Like, people are talking about, I can't believe you're making it, easier for the game to be played. No, that's not it. The data's showing the game takes too long. And when the game takes too long and philosophies are set in place, you can't go to an individual club and say, I need you to change your philosophy. You're not going to do that. So a rule change will cause a philosophy change, because you would be stupid not to. And if there's no shift and you're teaching a guy to hit the ball hard, then you'd be not along the lines of your analytics to take advantage of it.
Who was notorious kind of playing mind games with you when they were in the batter's box?
Oh, there would be some guys that, again, though, leadoff hitters were different, right? Leadoff hitters' job was to make us miserable, because if they could work the count, work a walk, and they would work the bases, they would steal. They'd make the hitter behind them so much better, because we had to pay attention to them. So leadoff hitters would play games. They would step out, fake bunt, work the count. My battles would go all the way back to Brett Butler, and we were friends, and I told him he'd never be able to bunt on me. And he was one of the best bunters in the game. And that's how he worked that's how the game was played back then. So those systems and those are not fair to compare to today, because that's not the same. And, stepping out of the box then, or taking way too long, there were ways to even those systems out. Those don't exist.
Of course, no, you don't throw at hitters anymore. Aaron Judge was interviewed during the game yesterday, and he said that you have to get back in and, it's quicker, so I have less time to think about the last pitch. Like, he liked it, that, all right, let that go, now get in and get ready for that next pitch. Can you understand that logic?
Absolutely, and that's where the strategy is going to come in. If you've heard me broadcast a lot, you've heard me talk about where the last pitch was and how pitchers don't take advantage of where the last pitch was and what the hitter did in his reaction. In other words, if I threw a high fastball and he swung at it, okay, if you take too long and that hitter forgets where that pitch is and you bounce one in the dirt, you're not taking advantage of where that last pitch is. So what he's talking about can work in an advantage for a hitter and maybe a disadvantage for a pitcher. So that's going to be balanced out. I always pitched where the last pitch was, and I pitched off of it. And I didn't want too much time to go back, because I didn't want the hitter to reset. I wanted him to think about what he swung at and then make him try to chase it a little bit farther off. I didn't want time to go by so he could reset his brain.
I didn't know that they have these pitching machines. We were out at the Super Bowl. We went to the Giants camp, and they can simulate Clayton Kershaw's curveball.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild that they could say, like, we're facing DeGrom, or, that you can kind of plug that into these machines?
Yeah, those were starting to be birthed when I was at the end of my career, and I was always, me. I was always jabbing my teammates, going, "Man, I'd love to face me," but then again, no, I don't want to face me. and they were like, "Shut up, Smokes." And I said, "Listen, that technology exists now, and yes, you can see and shape pitches and get used to shaping pitches. The one thing that's still difficult is the hand that it's coming out of that hole in the screen. So." Yep. You can start looking at those pitches, but the timing, and that's what I've always said about pitching. Why do guys not use the windup more? Why are we, like, you're letting the hitter see too much of a kind of a conformed mini stretch delivery. So those things can be mimicked and timed, and I'm all for whatever is going to help everybody, but I still think the pitcher has the advantage when he uses the windup.
Would you have rather faced Glavine or Maddox?
Oh man, either one. I said, listen, I said to Cloud, I said, you better hope you never go somewhere else, because I'm not dumb like the rest of those hitters. I'm going to sit on your changeup. And so we faced each other, and it was right after the All-Star break. And I kid you not, I had pulled my hamstring, and they said to me, like, you need to take a start off. I said, no, it's lined up with Glavin. I am not taking a start off. I'm facing him. It's bases loaded, one out. And I'm sitting on a changeup, and this is what I learned. Even if I sat on the changeup, I couldn't hit it. And so I pulled it to shortstop. It was like a tractor pull running to first. I had a pulled hamstring. I was trying to beat it out, and I couldn't. I obviously faced them both the latter part of their career, but they were so good at knowing what you were looking for and giving it to you, but not in that area. And hitters just they didn't go the other way. And when you don't go the other way against them, you lose.
I would love, if I was a hitter, to face either one from the standpoint of I knew it was going to be around the strike zone.
Yes.
It's the guy that you're not quite sure. Like Randy Johnson, no way. Not interested. Not interested at all. Did you ever go up there with fear in your?
Oh yes. Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, Pedro Martinez struck fear in me just because he was so nasty. You were going to embarrass yourself, and I did. Right. I did get lucky and get one hit off of him up the middle. But you know what's weird is Randy and I are in the same era. Obviously, we went in the Hall of Fame together, and we never faced each other. And so, if it were possible, and I mean this like without getting severely fined, if there was a way to go up there without a bat against one of those guys you feared, that you didn't know if they'd throw a strike, but you also didn't know if you'd get it in the ribs, I'd go up there without a bat. It would mess with their mind.
Are you allowed to go to the plate with no bat?
I don't think so. But, you know, honestly, I tried to tell everybody when Rick Ankiel was going through what he was going through, and we faced him in the playoffs against the Cardinals, and I begged every hitter, don't swing. You know, go up there with the bat, but don't swing. And no one could do it. And eventually he worked his way into trouble. But there are certain guys that if they saw you without a bat, it would freak them out. And I don't think they could throw a strike.
Always great to talk to you, John. Thank you, buddy.
My pleasure. You got
it. That's John Smoltz. He's a Hall of Famer. And, of course, works for Fox, Major League Baseball on Fox. Tim Kirchin, ESPN, Hall of Famer, ESPN baseball analyst, kind enough to join us to talk about the game. And how would you recap the first week of spring training with these new rules, Timmy?
Well, Dan, I'm pleasantly surprised how well things are going. Now, look, I'm not suggesting that everything's great and we don't have way more adjustments to go from here and something could go terribly wrong. But I did a game the other day from the booth, Dan. We had 21 strikeouts, 17 walks, and the game lasted 3 hours and 5 minutes. That game last year lasts 4 hours and 15 minutes. I also did a game that was 12-7, 19 runs scored, and the game was played in 2 hours and 59 minutes. Again, last year, that game takes 4 hours. This is the point. The players, surprisingly, have adjusted very quickly to this, in part because they don't have much of a choice. And the Yankees, Dan, played a game the other day in Orlando without a pitch clock because they didn't have the technology there, and they still played the game in 2 hours and 30 minutes because the players were already in the mindset that we got to go here. Listen, we're not in a rush, but we got to move. There's no dead time. So far, I'm really surprised with the biggest rule change. The pitch clock has gone better than I expected.
Any downside?
Well, sure. I mean, we had a game decided, on a guy not being in the box. We've had a catcher not in the box, and we've had pitchers go late. So, yes, Dan, that game that happened between the Red Sox and the Braves, which ended on a violation, that simply can't happen during the regular season. If it happens during the postseason, we're dead. If it happens in the World Series, the game will fold up immediately. So this is why we're playing 30 spring training games. This is why everyone has 6 weeks to figure this out. And again, I'm not suggesting there won't be minor tweaks, but I've spoken to Major League Baseball, and they basically have told me these are the rules. These are the rules we're going to have on opening day. I just hope we get there in one piece. And so far, I think, so good.
I know that when you had the Yankees game, Aaron Rodgers, or who's our home run king? Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge. Completely different from Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Judge is mic'd up, and he said, I don't think about the previous pitch now when I'm in the box. You don't have time to step out like, oh man, I missed my pitch, or I look bad on that pitch, or he fooled me with that. Now I get right back in the batter's box, but I still feel like it's more of a pitcher's advantage, Tim, because they can decide, I'm going to speed this up as, much as I want, or as quick as I want. You got to get in there. I have a little bit more leeway with my pitch clock than you do getting into the batter's box.
Yes, another surprise for me this spring, Dan. First day, Buck Showalter said, watch, the hitters are going to have more trouble adjusting than the pitchers, and that's precisely what's happened. I asked Justin Verlander, what about the new rules? His eyes lit up, and he goes, I love them. I asked Garrett Cole, and he said, oh, I love them. Max Scherzer, oh, I love the new rules. Here's what Max Scherzer, the mad scientist, did the other day. Some kid gets in the box with 18 seconds left on the clock, and Max Scherzer gets right into the stretch, and he stares at this poor kid for 14 seconds. Now, Dan, you played in your day, and you know when that pitcher stares at you for 3 seconds, it's uncomfortable. As Scherzer told me, 8 seconds is an eternity. He went 14 seconds. The hitter just freezes at that point. He's paralyzed because he's not used to being in that spot before. So I think our really smart, really good veteran pitchers are going to use some of these rules to their advantage. And I repeat, I think the pitchers have an advantage here over the hitters. And Dan, we put in all these new rules to give the hitters a better chance against this remarkable pitching that they see every day. And now I think the pitchers are getting another boost.
We're talking to Tim Kurkjian, Hall of Famer, ESPN baseball analyst. I've got some over-unders here, Tim. Aaron Judge over-under home runs, 45.5.
I'm going over. I'm not saying he's going to hit 65 and top last year, but he's in great physical shape. He's a way better hitter than he was 3 years ago. He's got a really short stroke, which we saw last year. His average went up, strikeouts went down, and he's so strong. And Mark Teixeira once told me how strong he is. He says, everyone's hitting a driver. Aaron Judge is hitting a 4-iron. That's how strong he is, and he doesn't need much. So I'm going to say he hits more than 45.5 homers.
Shohei Ohtani, 35.5.
I'm going to go over there, too. That guy is so unbelievably strong, and even though he pitches every 5th day, he plays every day, and I'm going over on 35.
Over, under $500 million for Shohei Ohtani's next contract.
No, he's going over that. He's going to break every record by a mile. I think Juan Soto has a chance to get extended before Ohtani gets his next deal. I think Soto will get the biggest contract ever, and then I think Ohtani will top that. Because again, Dan, we've never seen anybody like this.
But does he get 2 salaries, Tim?
Well, it doesn't matter how they do it. The 2 salaries will add up to the biggest contract ever. And there are a bunch of teams that are really going to be interested, and there are a bunch of teams that seem to be saving up their money right now to afford him.
Can the Angels afford him?
I think they can, and I think they're actually doing the right thing here, is holding on to him. In other words, not trading him last offseason. And they're going to try to win, and they're going to try to convince him that we're going to win here, and we're going to win long-term here, and we're going to build around you, and you're going to be Mike Trout's teammate for maybe 10 more years. If that doesn't happen, if they get to the trade deadline and the Angels are not going to the playoffs and they don't have a bright future, I think that's when they're going to have to trade Ohtani. But I wouldn't trade him until then. I would do everything it takes to try to win this year and prove to him we're good enough, and you're gonna be the biggest star in the world playing here, as opposed to maybe somewhere else where there are other big stars other than Mike Trout.
Yeah, I think that I'd have to go, do I want to be Mike Trout? I can be the best player in baseball. I'm not playing in any postseason games. Why would he have confidence in the Angels organization, considering what has happened with Mike Trout?
Well, that's a good point, Dan. I'm not suggesting he's going to play for the Angels next year. I'm just giving you the scenario that they might be able to keep him. They have to be able to afford him no matter what he wants. And they just have to do like the Giants did a couple years ago, and other teams come out of nowhere and suddenly they're good. That has to happen for the Angels to keep Ohtani. I think that's the only way. Otherwise, he's going to go to a team where he can win. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Give us the team or teams that if we talk to you in July, you can say I told you so. Maybe some surprises.
You know, Dan, I'm not one to avoid the question, but I just don't see these huge surprises this year. I looked at the playoff teams in each league, and I think you could be pretty certain this is how it's going to work. Look, I think the Angels, I just said this, but I think the Angels could be better. The Angels were a bad team last year, but with a healthy Trout, Ohtani at his best, they did some really nice things. Their starting pitching is better than people think. I think they're one team that could go from not very good at all to the playoffs. The Rangers also. We talk a lot about the Rangers, so they don't qualify as a surprise team, but they have a chance to get to, say, 82 wins this year, which is a big jump for them. But that's as far as I'm going. I just don't see a sub 500 team, winning the World Series this year. I just don't see it.
I also want to know baseball's. I know what their philosophy is now with the runner at second and extra innings. But I wonder with the new rule changes, Tim, are we going to need to put a runner at second base to speed up the game? When we're speeding up the game, why do I need to put a runner at second base to start the 10th inning?
Well, I'm completely with you on this, Dan. I'm sorry. I'm 66 years old. We played this game awfully well for well over 100 years, and I still do not understand why we had to put that guy at second to start the 10th inning of a tie game. I just don't get it, and I never will. And yet there are people in the game, lots of people in the game who love it. But Dan, you're right. These speed-up rules are working. We're trying to keep the players healthier. I think it's okay to ask for quicker games and healthier players that maybe we could play until someone actually wins the game. And I know people hate to hear this. Some of the greatest games I've ever covered in my life are 15 innings, 18 innings. I've covered 20-inning games. Yes, we have to work a lot harder. Yes, you're late for dinner, all of that stuff. But it makes for really good baseball sometimes, and I wish they would outlaw that, and they're not.
We had Dave Roberts on, the Dodger manager, and I said, what do you think of the new rules? He goes, gives me more time to drink wine.
All kidding aside, Dan, Aaron Boone went to his team and said 30 fewer minutes. That means we're on the bus in 30 fewer minutes. On the plane, you're home 30 minutes earlier, and most important, as we try to keep these players healthy, he said it's 30 minutes less on your feet during the day. Nothing is more tiring than standing in right field in a game that lasts 4 hours and 20 minutes. It is a tiring experience, and we can keep our players healthier, which we're trying to do with shorter games.
Always great to talk to you, Tim. Thank you.
See you, Dan. Take care.
Tim Kirkchin, ESPN.
Was stealing more than 1,000 bases, and Vince Coleman was putting up 100-plus stolen bases a year. There was a level of athleticism in the game that exists in the
Joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show, MLB insider from the worldwide leader in sports with opening day around the corner. Our friend Jeff Passan is back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Jeff?
Living the dream, Rich. How are you?
I am doing fine. Just the ground rules for this conversation. If you are not ready to answer my questions at the 8-second mark, we're going to have a problem, okay? There's going to be an issue in this conversation. There's a question clock or an answer clock in this conversation, just to keep the pace of the interview going. That makes any sense.
Here's the thing. I was going to actually have an 8-second pause on air there, but thankfully you filibustered long enough for me to get ready to answer everything and anything you've got. So fire away, Capitan.
Okay, brother. I'm a pace of play guy. I understand. I'm also a guy that loves baseball games to take as long as they take. I know I'm a 53-year-old guy, so I'm out of the demo. But I don't think there's a soul on the planet. I tweeted this out over the weekend. I don't think there's a soul on the planet who wants to see a baseball game end with a walk-off pitch clock violation. Not a soul. And we saw it in college, and we saw it in the first few days of spring training. I give you the floor on baseball's thought process and how you see this playing out for the first couple weeks, months of the season coming up.
There are going to be 2,430 games played in Major League Baseball this season, Rich.
Okay.
And if one of them happens to end on a pitch clock violation, which I don't think that's the case, but if one of them happens to end on that, and that is what needs to happen in service of everyone following the rules and really buying into this idea that the pitch clock is good for baseball, I'm willing to make that sacrifice for one game to end like that, or two, or three, or whatever it is. I think the net positive that is going to come from the pitch clock, long-term especially, in a sport that has been, if we're being honest about where baseball is in the landscape right now, it is not the NFL, it is not the NBA, and there's a good argument it's not college football, certainly, and there's an argument to be made that college basketball is, if not on the plane with it, then right there alongside it. Baseball needed to do something to address the fact that the reputation that the game has earned, not been given, but earned over the last 25 years, is that it's just too damn slow. And I don't know that manifests itself necessarily, Rich, in time of game. I think time of game is sort of illustrative of that, but to me, it's as much the pace as it is the time itself. And baseball had turned into a really plodding game without a ton of action in it. And I think this the pitch clock in particular, but also the other rules that have been put in place alongside it, are going to go a long way to solving the problem both of time of game as well as the pace.
Now, and I was talking earlier on my program, Jeff, that in the NFL there's always a hue and cry during the preseason where rules are enforced strictly to try and set a standard and players adjust. I totally get it, but just give me one game. But heaven forbid that one game, Sunday night, your network, Yankees, Red Sox, game over. I mean, seriously. And then that one game matters as to who wins the division or not. All it does take is one game for this thing to be. So I don't know, man. It just seems ridiculous.
Listen. I get your perspective, but I also think that there's a short-sightedness to it because baseball had to do something. And look, they've tried in the past. Remember when when umpires were told keep batters in the batter's box and let's quicken the game up that way? Remember how long that lasted? Yeah, you don't remember because it didn't last long at all. Like, the guys just straight up ignored it and stopped caring about it. Major League Baseball kind of shrugged its shoulders and was like, well, guess there's nothing we can do about it now because players aren't on board. You need buy-in from everyone, and I think when it comes to the pitch clock, there is going to be enough buy-in where hopefully it is front of mind for the players in those key seminal high leverage moments so that they don't make the mistake, because everybody knows the rules. The players particularly know the rules and will have spent time in both spring training and early in the regular season adjusting themselves and contorting themselves to follow them. And eventually it's just going to be muscle memory. You know, you're going to have that internal clock in your head that tells you if you're a batter, it's time for me to get in the box and look up. You're going to have that internal clock if you're a catcher, knowing you have to be there when the clock hits 9 inside of the painted lines. And if you're a pitcher, you're going to have that internal clock through hundreds and hundreds of reps, thousands once the season gets going, of, okay, this is how I need to go out and execute my pitches.
And so so we can educate everybody, including myself, it is what the rule is: player must be in the batter's box ready for the pitch by the 8-second mark of a clock that's 15 seconds long. Is that how this works here, Jeff?
That's correct. And ready is essentially in your stance and head up facing the pitcher. So, you know, Max Scherzer talked about it yesterday after his start. Like, he was ready before the hitter sometimes, and when the hitter would look up, he would go into his delivery. And he sees the pitch clock, which, by the way, Max Scherzer was not a fan of at first, but he sees it as something that he can use to his advantage, and he can mess with hitters' timing that way. And you know what? That's great. Like, the fact that there is a potential strategic element to this, I think, really aligns with what baseball is about. Baseball is that mental game. Baseball is that game where strategy comes into play so often, and the fact that players are already trying to leverage that, I think, is fantastic, because it lends some gravitas to the rules, right? Sometimes these rules get implemented and it just looks like the Wizard of Oz speaking from behind the curtain and saying, you will follow the pitch clock. No, it's you will follow the pitch clock, but hey, use it to your advantage too, because it's something that can be advantaged.
Well, then what about runners on? Can't runners use this to their advantage, knowing how many times a pitcher can throw over or anything like that? I mean, what about runners?
100%. I mean, pitcher. So another new rule is there are only 2 disengagements from the rougher. And the disengagement is either a pickoff attempt or a step off. If a pitcher has used his 2 disengagements, and he's the sort of guy who tends to hold on to the ball toward the end of the clock, you know that runners are going to be timing it, and that they're going to feel like even if they don't want to take an enormous lead, they may take an extra step and they may get an early jump on it. And then the pitcher has a decision, because if he throws over to first base a 3rd time to try and pick a guy off and doesn't do it, that's a balk. So the runner, or if there's a runner on 3rd base, you know, the runners get to advance the base automatically, and that's just part of how things are going now. You know, the Major League Baseball, when it was implementing these rules, was really trying to get back to what baseball looked like in terms of pace in the 70s and 80s. And the 70s and 80s, remember, were the time when Rickey Henderson was stealing more than 1,000 bases, and Vince Coleman was putting up 100+ stolen bases a year. There was a level of athleticism in the game that exists in the athletes themselves, but is frowned upon by teams with the stolen base, because you have to be successful 75% or more of the time to even make stealing bases worth it. I think that calculus is definitely going to change between the lack of disengagement as well as the smaller distance between the bases, 4.5 inches shorter, which it doesn't seem like a lot. It's not a lot, but man, when it's a bang-bang play, it could feel like a mile.
Well, look, and again, I'm not against the idea here, Jeff, because, you know, it will get exciting for fans in the stands when they see a clock winding down, or they think that the clock ran out, you know, and the pitch should have been delivered, or the clock is running out and the guy didn't have his head up, and there'll be lots of action in the stands looking at a clock. I understand that, and I understand, you know, wanting to speed things up, but I will hate it if a game ends on a walk-off pitch count violation, or a guy is out, you know, with nobody out, 2 on, and then somebody's out. Yep. So in the 9th, and again, I know the games, doesn't matter, 1st, 9th inning. What about turning the clock off in the 9th inning? What about that idea? What about doing that?
I asked about that yesterday and was told by someone at Major League Baseball that it is a complete non-starter, and they're not even considering the possibility.
No, wait.
And
I mean, just wait. Just wait.
You know,
just wait.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
You know, Rich, it's one of those things where we'll see, right? Like, if there are enough violations and people are up in arms and players start complaining about it and say, hey, we need it off in the ninth inning, Major League Baseball needs to at least be open-minded about this, because considering the level of change that they have in place, what's the likelihood that they get everything right the first time around? It's not great. And that's not to suggest that Major League Baseball is consistently fumbling things. It's just the reality of the world. When you make a bunch of changes in your life, how often do all of them turn out the way that you were anticipating? The answer is they don't. That's just not the way things work. So I think as long as Major League Baseball is open-minded about the possibility of adjusting things, then we're going to be okay. But if they're stubborn and are not listening to widespread fan feedback, and I don't know that the fan feedback necessarily aligns with you entirely, Rich. I think, as far as I can tell from social media, and everyone knows that, social media is a perfect reflection of the world, they're pretty split on this. The most interesting part of it has been to me?
What's that?
The people who have been complaining about the pitch clock have not been the ones that I would have anticipated. I would have thought that the complaints would have come from longtime fans who think that this is a bastardization of the game that they know, who say baseball is the only game without a clock, it should stay that way. I think there's some element to that. But more than that, there's been this constant movement among 25-year-olds. And I was like, in my mind, they were going to be open-minded because they're younger and because they're more open to change. But it occurred to me when I saw this, oh my God, they've never seen what a real baseball game looks like. They've never seen baseball where guys aren't messing around on the mound or on velcroing their batting gloves. They haven't seen that baseball from the 70s and 80s. That's crisp, that's clean, that's quick, that's action-packed. So this is a shocking for them. It's like, oh my God, what happened to the sport that I fell in love with? What are they trying to do with it? And that's a fascinating part of this that I had not anticipated.
Another fascinating part of it is how we're going to take the game in, because I saw your tweet as well that the pitch clock is not going to be visible right behind home plate like it is in some spring training game, facilities. And, there's going to be, I guess, a box on the screen, another aspect of watching a game where it's a graphic of something. We're going to see a clock, like a shot clock, the entire game.
I just assumed that it was going to be on the scorebook, like the shot clock or like the play clock in football. That to me makes the most sense. Our first game of the year on ESPN will broadcasting today, 1 o'clock Eastern, Cardinals Mets. I'm excited to see how we handle that.
Okay. And Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show. Couple of minutes left with the MLB Insider. Just real quick, some quick hitters. I saw some games this weekend, and I saw a left-handed hitter hit a liner into right field, and it hit the ground. And I'm like, shouldn't there be a third baseman standing there to just catch it on am I seeing the shift actually lead to hits? Did I see that over the weekend, Jeff? What is it?
The shift. I've always thought that it was just going to bring singles back, and people aren't coming to the ballpark for singles. But at the same time, when a ball gets hit on the screws, and because of defensive positioning, and guys just happen to be there, I looked at that as much as, hey, good for the defense, good for the scouting, good for the numbers.
Yeah,
allowing you to put your guys in position where they can execute play. But other side of the coin, I completely understand why a left-handed pull hitter signaling to right field is music to many people here.
But Jeff, let's put everything that we've just discussed together. Yes, you're not coming for singles, but you're seeing a runner on and a pitch clock guy's going to be taking a lead, and now with the bases being larger, maybe that guy steals a base, and then maybe somebody actually hits one in the gap, and we see action, and it's not strikeout, walk, home run, you know, and a game that moves along, because the shift will open it all up. How about that? Right?
There is no good counter to that, Rich. You're 100% right. Like, it aligns with everything that they're trying to do. As somebody who has a deep appreciation for incredible defensive plays, maybe I'm just being a little sensitive to the defenders and their ability to put outs up on the board. But, yeah, what you say right there, listen, more guys on bases, more action is good for the game. So it's why when it comes to the shift, I wasn't against banning it. I wasn't for banning it, but I can see the benefits certainly on both sides.
Okay, and lastly, where did the Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show? Lastly, for you, where did all the money from San Diego come from? What is happening with the Padres, who now have extended Manny Machado? And does everyone on? I know I'm asking multiple questions. Does everyone on San Diego have a 10+ year, $300+ million contract? I mean, it's just what's happening?
Yes, it's incredible how they were able to do that. I think what's happening is twofold here. Number one, it's really amazing, Rich, what happens when an owner prioritizes winning. Really incredible to see Peter Seidler coming out and saying, you know what, I'm in a small media market. My television revenue is, a fraction of what the Dodgers 90 miles on the coast are. And I don't give a damn because I want to win the first World Series in franchise history, and I'm going to bring in and keep around the best players who give me the best chance of doing so. Such a novel concept, trying to win and not trying to make a profit. And the Padres certainly, on a year-over-year basis, are going to lose money. There's just not enough revenue coming in, even with the sellouts, even with a season ticket list that had to be cut off because there was too much demand, even with only one major professional sport in the city. They're still going to lose money because the payroll is obscenely high. But what the Padres have done, Rich, is very simple. They've taken some of the equity from their growth and from the growth of professional sports teams across the landscape, where you see, a portion of the Milwaukee Bucks selling for $3.5 billion valuation today, when less than a decade ago they were bought for $550 million. Well, that appreciation's happened with the Padres too. Bought for $800 million in 2012, would easily sell for over $2 billion today. And the Padres said, you know what? We're going to take a chunk of that, and we're going to bring in a strategic partner who's going to give us cash, and we're going to reinvest that cash in the actual product, which is on-field players. And that reinvestment, we hope, is going to help build our brand, continue to build our awareness, and more than anything, build a championship caliber ball club. And if we do happen to win the World Series, then the returns on that investment are going to be absolutely incredible long-term and short-term.
And then, of course, Ohtani will top that list by a large margin. Before I let you go, walk me through.
Padres are going to be in on him too, Rich.
Oh, my gosh. And then Soto, they're going to have to pay Soto too. So walk me through the timeline in your mind. Is the trade deadline a trigger? Is opening day a trigger? What's the Ohtani timeline for you for a new contract or trade this year in 2023?
Well, my personal Ohtani timeline is that every day is a Shohei Ohtani day. But in terms of extension, I don't see the Angels getting anything done. Frankly, I think he's too close to free agency, and there's too much out there in order for him to stick around with a team that he doesn't know if it's going to be very good. And here's the truth: if the Angels stink, or even if they're just sort of mid this year, I could see him moving at the trade deadline, because if he's going to leave there, and I think, the odds are probably more in favor of Shohei Ohtani ending up somewhere else next year than being back with the Los Angeles Angels, you better get as much for him as you possibly can, because I'm sorry, but one draft pick for Shohei, one compensatory draft pick for Shohei Ohtani leaving, That ain't a good deal.
So do the Mets give up Axe Capital for him? Is that what it is? Is that what they have to do, Jeff? What a bonanza that would be.
I mean, if Rich, if Ohtani stays healthy and performs anywhere close to the way he's done over the last 2 years,
yes,
the number is going to start at 500.
I can't wait. Jeff Passan, have a great rest of February, because I'm calling you in March, which is just the other day. So I look forward to that. Look for more of my phone calls. Can't wait. Thanks for the time here, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Glad you got it in on the pitch clock, Rich.
We did. We got it in. It's safe, and we can now complete the rest of the interview, which is right now. Thanks for the call, Jeff. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.
All right, here we go now with our good buddy Steve Phillips, who has drunk plenty of Kool-Aid. He's going to drink some more of it. I love him, though. I love the guy. He's going to have some fun with me. This is the greatest thing in the history of the world. This 3-2 game last night for Japan over the United States. The floor is yours. Go ahead. Let me hear.
Well, Chris, I mean, the WBC overall was absolutely fantastic. The fans told us that. The stadium in Miami was rocking. The press box was rocking. The fan base ecstatic about it. Players, Adam Wainwright, who's pitched in World Series, where you're a big postseason guy in baseball, he's pitched in World Series and said this was the biggest, loudest, most exciting moment of his career. It's the most fun he's had at any point in his career. That matchup last night of Ohtani and Trout going at it, ninth inning, this is what kids do in their backyard. They go back there, they get a bat and say, okay, I'm Mike Trout, bottom of the ninth, 3-2 score, 3-2 count, game on the line, here's the pitch. We saw that moment last night. It was a matchup of two teammates, of two, iconic teams. And you look at Team USA and all of the great players there, and then the Japanese team, who had every great player in Japan playing on it. To get to there, the semifinal games were phenomenal. And so I thought the overall tournament was a major win for Major League Baseball, a major win for international baseball to grow and develop the game. Ohtani showed what he's made of. He's absolutely, one of the best players to ever play, if not the best player to ever play the game. And I know you don't buy that, but the reality is he is. He truly is. You can say Babe Ruth all you want. Babe Ruth didn't do this. Babe Ruth did not do this. Think about this. Babe Ruth, the most games.
Decided.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to fight you
started
about
20
Ruth
games.
because it's crazy. This is stupid.
Chris, I want
Ruth.
Chris, here's the thing on Ruth. He didn't play against the best Negro League players of his time. He didn't play against the best world players like Ohtani is. He didn't travel west of the Mason-Dixon line. It was a completely different game against 8 teams. The same players over and over and over again. You got the face as a hitter.
You feel the same. All right, if you're going to go there, now, you brought it up. You feel the same way about the 56-game hitting streak for DiMaggio?
Yes.
Do you feel the same way about Ted Williamson?
Here's the thing.
You feel the same? What's the difference? He played, if you didn't know,
here's
Stevie
the
did in
difference.
1941. Do you feel the same way about the 50s?
I do.
Ted Williamson,
Chris,
406?
Here's my belief,
the same way.
is that players that played before there was integration, their numbers were enhanced. They're inflated because they didn't play against the best players of the time. So yes, the reality is true that all of those players that didn't play against the best Negro League players.
So one more time.
Yes.
I want it on record. Lou Gehrig is another one. I want it on record.
All of them.
56-game hitting streak, which is one of the great records in the history of baseball, which they go crazy about in the sport. That to you doesn't mean anything because he did it in 41. And Williams, who they have made statues of in every place in America, that's 406 batting average. That doesn't count either because that also happened in 41. And when we're at it, let's throw out Lou Gehrig Day when he gave you that wonderful speech at Yankee Stadium. That don't count either. Because that happened
Lou Gehrig
in
Day
1939.
He's
now
an iconic
we're going to throw all these records
superstar
out?
player. No. Lou Gehrig Day wasn't about the records. It was about Lou Gehrig and obviously what he was going through. But Chris, the reality, it's the truth though. Okay, let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think that Babe Ruth's numbers were inflated and enhanced because he didn't play against some of the best Negro League players of the day? Absolutely. What about Joe DiMaggio? Absolutely. Ted Williams? Absolutely. Chris, you're wrong about it.
First off,
you're wrong about it.
DiMaggio played against Willie. He played against Willie Mays and Jackie Robinson. That's the first thing. He played them again between 47 and 51. That's
But if
the
you're
first
talking
thing.
about
Second
41, then his numbers were
Ruth
inflated.
out-homered the whole league. Ruth out-homered the whole league. Nobody did what Ruth did. Nobody
right.
did.
But you know
He's
what,
the only
Chris?
person. Nobody did
if
it.
he had played against the Negro League players of the day and there was desegregation, his numbers would not have been as enhanced as they were. He would not have hit 714 home runs if he had played against some of the best players of the era.
Steve, a great player is a great player no matter what the era is.
Completely
That goes
agree
for
with
Satchel
you.
Paige and
But-
Josh Gibson, who didn't play in the Major Leagues. It goes for everybody.
You're right, but you know what? Babe
is a
Ruth
great
can't
player.
do.
I am
Babe
not
Ruth
going to
could
sit
not
there
do what
and
Ohtani's doing.
separate them
Ohtani
because
is doing something that Babe Ruth never did, Chris. Never did. Babe Ruth would not travel. Ohtani's on the West Coast traveling across the country. He's facing all of the great players that are out there today. Everybody who has a chance to play. He's playing against the very best. Babe Ruth did not.
A lot of the great players, Steve, a lot of the great players are playing other sports. They're not playing baseball. They're playing basketball.
It's not
They're
even
playing
close.
football.
Not even close. You're right.
Steve,
right. You're right.
Steve,
Yeah.
they're not playing baseball.
Right.
Let's be fair.
Josh
they don't play
Gibson,
baseball.
Satchel Paige, all of the great players, Jackie Robinson, all the great players of the Negro Leagues. Babe Ruth didn't face any of those guys. So the reality is, the truth is, his numbers are enhanced because of it. It's not a level playing field. Ohtani's playing against the best.
I completely disagree. Well, Steve, if that's the case, why don't I go to presidents then? Why don't I why don't I throw FDR out? Because FDR didn't go up and no, unfortunately, he may not even won the presidency. Why don't I throw that out? You basically want to throw everything that happened in America out before 1947.
I want to put it in perspective.
I can't do that as a sports fan.
No, you can put it in
I
perspective.
can't do that as a sports fan.
Of course you can. We do it all the time.
No, I can't.
When you're comparing across generation, it's about perspective, Chris. Babe Ruth was great. And in his era, among the white players, you're right. He was the greatest white player of his era. But his numbers were enhanced because the reality is he didn't face many of the best black players of the time. Well, I mean, it's a fact that he didn't play against some of the best players.
I understand that, Steve, but you're telling me there was black players better than Walter Johnson?
Chris,
better than FD Grove?
There were black players better
Steve.
than the ninth pitcher on the pitching staff. Chris, you understand that. There were elite level players who should have been playing Major League Baseball that weren't given the opportunity because of that.
But
their
Steve,
numbers
that's not the
and
argument.
Babe Ruth's numbers were enhanced.
Don't throw that, Steve, don't throw that at me. That's not the argument. We all know it's wrong. You're making it sound like I don't know it's wrong.
No, you know it's wrong. No, geez. No, I'm not saying that. You know it's wrong, but what I'm
That's what you're going to say. That's what you're going to say. Don't do that. The bottom line is a great player is a great player, Steve.
Right.
No matter what the era. Not fair to you to say now.
Would he have hit seven?
That's not fair.
Would he have hit seven? All right. Would he have hit 714 home runs if he played against the best black players of his era?
Yes. And the same way Satchel Paige would have been the great pitcher that he was, and Josh Gibson and Cool
But his numbers wouldn't have been the same.
Andrich and all these great players would have been the same. A great player, Steve, in any era is a great player.
I don't disagree with you.
This is a great player. The numbers would not have been enhanced. You're basically telling me that Ted Williams is not a 406 hitter. Well,
no, we don't know that, but the reality is probably not. Probably not.
Well,
if he had played against the best black players of the era,
what did Ted Williams
the reality is
what
probably
did Ted
not.
Williams, Steve, what did Ted Williams hit in 1958? Do you know?
What? I don't know what he hit in 1958.
I'm asking you a question. Do you know the answer, yes or no?
No, I don't remember. No, I was born in 63, Chris. Okay, all right.
Steve.
So what?
388.
Right.
He was
I got
40
it.
years of age.
Right.
Were there black players playing in 1958?
Yes, there were.
Okay,
Right. Yes, there
so
were.
Williams
but
hit
in
388.
1941,
So he hit
would
388 in
406? Probably
1958.
not.
But wouldn't he
Right.
hit 406? Oh, come on, Steve, that's ridiculous.
Right, probably not.
That's ridiculous.
Why? It's not. It actually is not. I would
Steve,
say
he hit
that the reality is
388 in
most people would
1958.
agree with me on this one.
No,
Most people would agree with me. Yeah, they would. Yes, they would.
They wouldn't, Steve. I'm telling you, a great player is a great baseball player. Let's move on. We're wasting our time. Let's move on. What is your take now? I want to ask you this question. And I know Steve forever, so him and I fighting is not a big deal. Let me ask you this question. Do you think there's going to be any hangover for all the players who played in this World Baseball Classic getting ready now in the next 8 or 9 days for another season where there's going to be, 15,000 people in Milwaukee on a cold night in April after they just went through what they called was the greatest experience of their lives? Now they got to go through the drudgery of a long season. Is that going to be a problem?
I think it can be. Not a long season, but I think early on we could see a little bit of a letdown. I mean, what goes up does come down in baseball, and certainly the emotional high that all the players were on in this tournament, it's going to be a letdown going back to camp. And the reality is, opening day, which is always the most special day, everybody fights to be on the roster for opening day. It is going to be a little anticlimactic for those guys who participated in the WBC. But that's up to them. That's up to their team. That's up to their teammates to get them back focused, ready to play. And so, I think it's going to be individual. I think some will be more affected by others. But I do think there will be some that are going to have that emotional letdown that they're going to have to try to ramp it back up again.
The injuries for Houston and the Mets. Tell me your thought quickly on Altuve and the Mets thing with Diaz. We haven't talked since. Go ahead. Let me hear. Shoot.
Yeah, I think the Altuve one's devastating for them. It's a couple months. McCullers is down too a little bit. Alvarez's hands hurt a little bit. Tucker couldn't play the last game because of the foul ball off his shin. This is big. It narrows the gap. I think it gives Seattle an opening early on. Remember, you can't win your division in April, but you can lose it in April. And so I think there's enough talent there for them to sustain it, the Astros. But I do think that the gap is narrowed without Altuve. He's so important to their team. From the Mets' perspective, look, they're going to find a way to manage it at the end of the game. We're talking about 60-some innings. We're talking about the Sage, whether David Robertson or Ottavino or others. They're not Edwin Diaz, but the Mets are going to be okay. They're going to be able to score runs. They'll make up for it. They'll make a move later to add a closer if they need to. They'll get Zach Britton out in free agency if he's the right answer there. So I'm not as worried about the Mets as I am about the Astros. But the Mets in a tough division with the Phillies and Braves, I think it could push them from first to second to third without Diaz there. But still, I think they're a playoff team without him.
Excellent job, Stevie. Way to fight me off. We'll talk to you next week. Appreciate you coming on, pal. Laugh,
Thanks, Chris.
Stevie. Laugh.
Let's talk about it right here.
Let's do it.
In the middle of March, with everything going on with March Madness and everything going on with the NFL free agency echoes, waiting on Aaron Rodgers, what's going on with Lamar Jackson, lots of folks interested there. Paul George hurt himself last night. Was holding our breath, hitting refresh for all you Clipper fans out there. And we're waiting to see how the rest of the NBA regular season wraps up. Karl Anthony Towns looks like he's coming back. He hasn't played since November 28th. Timberwolves getting healthy just in time for a playoff run. John Morant says he's still working on it. With all those headlines clanking on. We're talking baseball. We're talking baseball on this program. Because last night, we had one of the most intense endings to a baseball game in the history of March. I'll say it. Okay. And that's what I kind of dig about this World Baseball Classic. I know 2 major injuries happened during the World Baseball Classic. Major injuries. Your Mets closer. The trumpets turned into trombones, unfortunately, for Edwin Diaz and Jose Altuve. You might not see him till June because he took a wayward pitch off the hand. And I know that's been a lot of the conversation, along with, oh, great viral moment here, great viral moment there. But baseball has always been my first passion. I know I'm associated with the NFL for 20 years now. Thrilled to be that, and forevermore. Baseball was my first love. It's what I covered at ESPN. So when I see the World Baseball Classic come to a conclusion with Mike Trout at the plate and Shohei Ohtani on the mound, 2 Angels teammates, finally in a game that matters, facing off with one another, and seeing that showdown last night was an absolute wondrous sequence that baseball, I feel, deserves. Baseball tries its hardest. I really feel that way. It's still a remarkable game. Used to be known, as you know, as America's pastime, but the national pastime. Last night had an international pastime moment. Japan versus the United States, 1-run game, last out of this World Baseball Classic that has been chock full of terrific, competitive juice-flowing moments for baseball in a month where we're talking grapefruits usually and cacti. This was incredible. Whole family was in the room.
Yeah.
Last night, all 5 of us sitting down watching a sporting event. I don't remember the last time that happened. Usually happens for the Super Bowl for a lot of families, but, Dad's at the game. So we're all sitting there, and it was edge of your seat moment. And we all know what happened. Ohtani wins the battle. Japan wins the World Baseball Classic. And Team USA watched Mike Trout swing through one of the most incredible strikeout pitches you will see in a moment like this. Ohtani coming in to close his first game since 2016, when we all know he was not in America playing baseball. Hadn't closed a game since 2016. And he comes in like he's done it his entire life, because that's the way he does everything. And reminds everybody in front of the whole planet against his teammate Mike Trout, known as the modern day Mickey Mantle, who we're waiting to see actually make the playoffs and have great playoff moments. He, with that pitch sequence, threw not 1, but 2, see it, hit it, 100-mile-hour, my stuff versus your stuff fastballs. I mean, putting it all out on the table. This is my best. You give me your best. Let's ride. After he threw a first pitch slider that Mike Trout spat on to take the early advantage in the count. That wound up being a full count because Ohtani, after throwing that first pitch slider, throws 4 consecutive fastballs, 2 that were right down the middle that Trout swung through, and 2 that were out of the zone. Full count. Full count. 4 straight fastballs from Ohtani, and then he snaps off a hospital corner perfect slider. I mean, perfect. And it was 14 miles an hour slower than his fastball. And then you sit here and you think to yourself, he might be the best slugger in the game too. And Shohei Ohtani reminds everybody who the best player on planet Earth is in this sport. Beating out grounders that he hits sharply, directly to a middle infielder on the right side of second base. He beats it out.
He's got to get drug tested after that.
He hits bombs.
I want him at the NFL Combine.
He runs like a deer, and now he's coming in to close games?
Yeah, he's filthy.
He's unbelievable.
Close games? Best player in the game today. That's why you come on the air saying you want to clock until he becomes a Met. I'm sitting there last night watching him going, he looks really good in white pinstripes.
With you, Rich.
I tweeted that out, and people are like, that looks more like Padres pinstripes to me. Padres pinstripes. And everybody starts chiming in.
Nice.
Everybody starts chiming in. Because everybody sits there and thinks, hey, he's wasting away in Southern California with the Angels. Best player on planet Earth can't even get a sniff at the playoffs. Part of the reason is because the guy who struck out can't stay healthy. Well, when's Ohtani? I know Ohtani's been here for a few years now, but
I mean, Trout hasn't been healthy.
I'm just in complete awe that we have to sit back and marvel at what we're seeing, and not just go, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is unprecedented," and just move on with our lives. No, this is a unicorn. This is something you've never seen before. Left-handed hitter for power, who can run like he's Ricky friggin' Henderson.
And he's like 6'4".
Yeah, he's
tall,
jacked,
big,
guy.
and also has the heart of a lion. You saw that last night, screaming "Let's go" like he's Tom Brady after he strikes out Mike Trout to win the World Baseball Classic in front of an international audience that could not believe that the baseball gods gave us what we wanted. Ohtani versus Trout to end it. Ohtani on the mound to close it. Unbelievable. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free. Do you think, and this is a yes or no question, do you think Shohei Ohtani will wind up being the greatest baseball player in the lifetimes of anybody who's alive right now? TJ?
It's tough, man.
Obviously, it's tough.
I'm going to say no.
Excuse me.
Because it's so subjective.
Because he hasn't won in the playoffs? Is that why?
Also, we're on like year 3 of this awesomeness. So I need to see it for another like 10 years.
So he's got to be a pitcher at the tip-top level.
He doesn't have to do that. Maybe a top pitcher for like 5 years.
I don't think we're fully gathering what we're seeing. This ain't a flash in the pan. This isn't like somebody who's done it for like 2 months. This isn't like Yasiel Puig when he first showed up.
That's funny. Yeah.
Okay. This is sustained unicorn brilliance.
I totally
and the
get
problem is he's on a team that doesn't play in the playoffs. And it's a team game. He can only pitch once every 5 days, and he can hit, and then he's only one of 9 guys. So let's just call it the way.
Okay, but let me just ask you this: like, I know he's doing both of these things. Yes. Whatever you think these other guys did, like, is he a better pitcher than Roger Clemens and a better hitter than Barry Bonds? No, right?
Well,
so
maybe not yet.
Right, that's why. So it's
maybe not yet, but the fact that it's the same human being.
Right, so
he's going to wind up the most.
That ramps it up.
The most lucratively paid athlete in North American sports history. That's coming.
Well, that's just a matter of when he's alive.
That's next year. He's going to make that money next year.
I understand, but if this is 20 years ago, I'm not kidding.
No, I understand. No, I understand that. But he will get that. He would have gotten that version of it adjusted for inflation.
To think he's the greatest baseball player ever, I need to see this for another decade. Obviously, not discounting what he's doing and what he's accomplished
in
the last like 3 years.
So
he's amazing.
you say I guess what I'm saying is that he could. I think it's entirely possible.
There's a chance
he winds up the greatest baseball player in the lifetimes of anybody who's currently living.
What do you want to put that percentage at? Like 5%?
I don't know.
And also,
I don't know.
Say someone's the greatest is so subjective. You're never going to get 10 people. They're going to give you 10 different answers.
Understood. What we are seeing is somebody who can hit like, you want to say Bonds? Fine. Run like Ricky Henderson. If he wants to. He's one of the fastest players I've ever seen. And pitch like Clemens. Yeah. All in one body. All in one singular body. And you want to talk about Babe Ruth used to do. He's currently doing it. He's currently doing what Babe Ruth used to do.
Babe stopped pitching.
That's true. And Ohtani, right? And at some point, somebody's going to tell Ohtani one or the other. Someone's going to tap him on the shoulder and say one or the other.
Why would you?
I don't know, because he might not be as good at one, or he might take away from the other. But right now, he's not. And right now, he's about to get paid like he's both. And it's going to be amazing. And please make the playoffs this year.
That's what I'm asking.
Freaking make it. And if you're not, trade him to somebody who can. Because what we just saw the other night, and what's still being talked about around the world, needs to be seen in the Major League Baseball playoff stat. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.
Alright, everyone. This concludes the end of this live stream. Wow, it's been 3 hours already. Just over 3 hours. It's now just after midnight. So yeah, my company, Mother Trucker, is now over $800,000. So, yeah, this is my truck. Changed the paint job to USA Transport. Yeah. So I did 2 deliveries. The first one was a double cargo of Walmart. It was a long load, and both the trailers were white, so they matched the color of my truck. And the weird thing about that double cargo is that the first cargo is long, and then the second cargo is short. So it's like one long trailer and one short trailer together. That's how they call it a long load. Then my second delivery, I did a UPS delivery of whiskey. That's what it says. And that cargo was so short. So yeah, I picked Walmart and UPS, the 2 most American companies in this game, I guess, that I can find. So yeah. Alright. So this has been episode 49. I'm now at level 29 instructor, just over 100,000 XP. Yeah, Windows XP. That means experience. So, yeah. So I looked at all my stats, the managers. It's all doing good. I don't know when episode 50 will be, but I think it's time for me to take a break from this game. So yeah, I'll play this game a lot, but then after a while, I will take a break for a while from playing this game, because I want to upload some other videos or maybe live stream some other games as well. So I don't know when episode 50 will be. I guess I'll let you know whenever it is. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do for episode 50. I'm thinking of maybe trying to go back to $1 million on my profile for episode 50. So like we can do, I'm going to just show you an example here. I know only one person's watching. That's okay. So remember, Freight Market is where you can deliver things from your own truck. So right now, where am I at? Holbrook, Arizona. Yeah, I'm in Holbrook, Arizona. So here's the thing. So like, for example, the most expensive one I can do is the one from Astoria, Oregon. I can do this one, but I have to go get the trailer. I have to drive all the way to Oregon, Astoria, Oregon, to get the trailer, and then go all the way back down to Brownsville, Texas. So yeah, that's like extra driving. I don't want to do that. So instead, you can do this. You can search up the city that you're in right now. So I'm in Holbrook. That's what it is. Holbrook, Arizona. Oh, there we go. So I have to find one where it starts from Holbrook, Arizona, and then, so yeah, I can do this one. See? Because the green flag is where the start is. So I can do this one. But if I do this one, the one from Oregon, like I said, I have to drive all the way to Oregon to get the trailer, because that's where it starts. It's a lot of driving. It's like back and forth, you know? So, that's that. Yeah. Or I could also do quick job, which is a lot easier because you get to pick any delivery from any truck. You would rent trucks, so I can do that instead if I want the money a lot faster. And then we got external contracts. That's part of World of Trucks delivery contracts using your own equipment. A record of these deliveries is stored to your World of Trucks profile. The only time I do these external contracts is when there's an event going on. So like, if you watch these live streams of this game, there was a Halloween event, a Christmas event, and a Texas event, and I did all of them. I completed my goals for all of them. So they had a Valentine's event, but I didn't want to do it, mainly because I just finished not too long ago the Christmas event and the Texas event, and plus I'm not really a big fan of Valentine's Day. I don't think they're going to have an Easter event, so I don't know when the next event will be, but it'll tell you on the top of the screen on the homepage. So anyway, quit. Alright, and that will be it for this stream here. I took 2 screenshots so you can see the 2 Walmart cargos. You see the first one, it's like a normal size one, or a big one, and then the second one is a lot shorter. Doesn't that look weird looking? Yeah. Wow, I played this game for over 300 hours in real time. Remember, when I first recorded an episode of this game, I've already had my profile. Like, I didn't start a new profile. I didn't do that. Because I played this game in June of 2019, but back then I didn't have this computer. I had a laptop, and I couldn't record. I couldn't record this game from that laptop. So when I finally got a new computer, I could finally record from this game. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do a new profile. But I did for my friends. I created a new profile for my friends. So, yeah. Eventually, we're going to try and get to that profile to $100,000 and finally buy a truck on that profile. And then I got these 2 games, 18 Wheels of Steel, American Long Haul, and Haulin', which are the old version of Truck Simulator, because these are the 2 games that I played while growing up. So I might do some videos on these 2 games, but not much though. So it's also another SCS software game. Another one from SCS software is this game, Hunting Unlimited 2010, the game that I played a lot when I was a kid. And Bus Driver. Yes. So yeah, I would like to do some videos on those games as well. So then I got some other games here that I played a lot when I was a kid. The non-SCS software games, you got Burger Shop 2, Hotel Dash. I played this on live stream a month ago, part of my 11th year anniversary. I think I played this game as well, Pizza Frenzy. Yeah, I did. And Zuma Deluxe. I played these 3 games on live stream. Then there's Zuma's Revenge. Oh, not gonna install that. And Wedding Dash 2 Rings Around the World. Apparently Steam doesn't have Wedding Dash 1, but they have Wedding Dash 2. And of course Fate. Game that I live streamed in the past. Not that much though. because that game gets crazy pretty fast. But yeah, that was another game that I played a lot when I was a kid. All these games, except for the WWE one, were on, and Truck Simulator. All these games, except for Truck Simulator and WWE 2K19, were all on Wild Tangent Games. So that's the site. That is the site that I grew up playing PC games. Wild Tangent Games. And I decided, you know what? I wonder if Steam has any of the Wild Tangent games. So I searched up as many as I can, and these are what I found. And a lot of these aren't expensive. They're really cheap to buy, so that's good. Some of these I bought during the winter sale. So Fate, I bought this during I think the winter sale of 2021, and it was only like 90-something cents. It was like under $1. That's crazy. But now I think it's like $7.99 or $6.99, I think. But yeah. But yeah, maybe I'll do a live stream of just me playing Steam games. I did that during my 10th year or 11th year anniversary on YouTube. But yeah, my birthday is coming up less than 2 months, so I would always do a birthday stream. And this year my birthday will be on a Friday, so I can do 3 live streams, you know, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I can do one for Steam games, I can do one for Roblox, and I can do one for Nintendo games. Kind of like, it's just like what I did for my 11th year anniversary. So, alright guys, I think that's all I got to say. And I have some friends that are online playing. Got a few of them. This is my my new friend on Steam. The guy that was commenting on the chat a lot, he had to go. That's okay, because he was here for like almost the entire time. So yeah, he has a YouTube channel as well. But it's great that how he just randomly found my channel and he likes it. He likes my content, so that's great to know. Alright guys, that's all I gotta say. I'll see you next time. Have a good night.